began life as the New York Gothams in 1883. The New York Giants ruled National League Baseball in New York for the better part of a century before they headed off to California following the 1957 season. The Mets made the Polo Grounds their home for 2 years, but the Giants were out west and looking for a championship for many, many a year after taking the dirt of the Polo Grounds with them. They played at Seal Stadium, they played at Candlestick Park, but it wasn't until they moved to their waterfront stadium that the Giants finally won a world championship after 56 years of waiting. Now, they come back to New York to play the Mets for the first time as World Series champs. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the San Francisco Giants. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez join me in just a moment. The Mets return home to begin a three-game series against the world champion San Francisco Giants. And Bruce Bochy's club is going through struggles early in the season. Their slimmed-down Kung Fu Panda, Pablo Sandoval, is on the sidelines. The Giants are having trouble scoring runs. They come from Washington, where they lost 3 of 4 and got shut out in 2 of those 4 games. They're a couple of games under 500. The Mets, though, come home from a road trip when they went 3-3, salvaging the final game in Philadelphia on Sunday night in a classic 14-inning game that will be memorable for many reasons beyond the field. But in that game, the Mets unveiled a new hero. Ronnie Paulino, making his first start for the Mets, became the first player in more than 50 years to garner 5 hits in his first start for a new team.
Well, he's been missed. He's had a slow start. Couldn't get out of his home country with visa problems. He just had a terrific day at the plate, and what a boost. This was the guy that was going to hit off all the left-hand pitching. And as Gary said, this was such a big win for the Mets right here, this 14-inning ball game. There's the game winner. Just do the math. I'm not good at math. I can figure it out. They're 8.5 games out if they lose that ball game. Now they're 6.5 out. That's a huge 2-game swing, and the emotional lift of having a 3-3 road trip and going into Philly after losing the first 2, pick themselves up and get a win and come home.
Well, here's the math on R.A. Dickey, who goes for the Mets tonight. It's been exactly 1 month since his only win of the season.
Well, 0-3 at home, where he ruled this place last year, going 7-3. What does he have to do to pitch more like he pitched last year? He came out of spring training trying to change speeds on that knuckleball. In fact, trying to throw a real kind of lofted one up there. And I think he's really lost his control of that 78-mile-an-hour forkball. When you talk about traditional pitchers, you say, hey, go back to basics, throw strike 1, and just throw the ball over the plate. I think for R.A. Dickey as a knuckleballer, basics are go back to that 77, 78-mile-an-hour knuckleball, throw it every single time, and throw it for strikes.
The Giants are known for their pitching. Their Cy Young ace Tim Lincecum will go tomorrow night, but tonight it's a journeyman pitcher, Ryan Vogelsong.
Well, he's the only guy that's gotten a win for them in the last week, and he's got a great story. We'll talk more about it during the game, but the good thing about Vogelsong at this point in his career, a strike thrower.
So it's the Mets and Giants as the Mets return to Citi Field to start a 6-game homestand. All the action coming your way tonight right here on SNY. IOTV. By Cadillac, visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer or CadillacTristate.com to learn more about their attractive lease and finance offers. By McFadden's, buy your all-inclusive McFadden's game day package today. Includes food, drinks, and a ticket to the game. Purchase at Mets.com/McFadden's. By Bud Light, it's the sure sign of a good time. By the New York Lottery. And by Audi. Mets Flex Packs are on sale now at Mets.com. Create a pack of 5, 11, or 17 games. Plus, all Flex Packs include a ticket for a bonus game. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com now for your tickets. It's the Mets and Giants from right in the heart of New York City. First pitch coming up. Active service personnel tickets to the game tonight for free from the Mets, and members of 5 branches of the military throwing out the first pitch. And our thanks to the Jensen family, Valerie and Greg Jensen, strong supporters of the Mets Foundation for many years. We're supposed to throw out the first pitch tonight. They won that at a silent auction at the Mets Welcome Home Dinner, but they graciously ceded their opportunity tonight to the military so that they could represent following the events of Sunday, as the Mets are paying special tribute to the military and wearing special caps tonight as well. There's your forward starting lineup for the anemically offensed Giants. You see Mike Fontenot is hitting third. That's about all you need to know about the Giants offense right now, with no Andres Torres, no Pablo Sandoval, no Mark DeRosa. They have scored just 12 runs in 7 games on their current road trip. Aaron Rowan at the top of the order, really the only hot bat at all in that San Francisco lineup.
For R.A. Dickey pitching this evening, 34 and 40 in his career. He won his first start in Florida, but has not won since then. 1-3. You can see that ERA a little higher than he's used to, but he has pitched, I believe, much better of late.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metsy defense. And Tolley with 7 passed balls. He's been struggling back there, and he's got his hands full with a knuckleball. Jason Friday gets into the start out in center field, and Lucas Duda taking over in left field.
Now Terry Collins brought his team home from a 3-3 road trip, a trip framed by tributes to the military and the wounded and the fallen. The trip to the Walter Reed Army Hospital before the Mets started their series in Washington, and then of course Sunday night with the killing of Osama bin Laden during the game and the announcement in Philadelphia. It brought forth a lot of interesting emotions for the players who were involved, and maybe a sense of completion for this team and the road trip that they just finished.
The road trip became a historical trip.
Aaron Rowan will lead things off. Rowan now in the 4th year of the 5-year free agent deal that he signed when he left the Phillies, and he's been anything but overwhelming over the course of this contract. But right now he's the best thing the Giants have going, playing center field in the absence of Andres Torres and hitting at .290. Dickey's first pitch of the night is a fastball to start him off, and it's in for a strike. A little different opening note.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of fastballs first pitch through this lineup.
And why is that? Just because they're struggling?
Because they're struggling. There's not a lot of pop in that lineup, and also I think that it's a part of RA trying to be a little more aggressive than he's been early in the season.
See the special caps the Mets are wearing tonight. First time they've worn this style of patriotic cap. And Rowan breaks his bat and pops one up to shallow center. Pridey coming on hard, and he makes the sliding grab. Nicely done by Jason Pridey for the first out of the night.
Well, Rowan, as you said, swinging a hot bat, and this ball just got in on him a little bit. It's a big uppercut, and this is like shades of Lenny Dykstra here. Nicely done.
And you saw the Mercedes-Benz Ultra Low, brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. Now Miguel Tejada. Tejada had been playing shortstop every day. He's playing third base tonight. Hitting at .211 on the year. And he pops one back to Dickey. And Dickey, who made his first error of his season in his last outing, throws to first for the out. Tejada insisting that the ball came off his foot, and arguing with Tim Timmons, the home plate umpire. He never ran out of the box, but the out is recorded.
I don't think it hit him in the foot. Let's see right here. Well, we're not going to get a shot there. The reason I'm saying that is because Tejada's reaction first, it was to run to first, and then his second reaction was to fake as though it had hit him in the foot. Now, I'm not sure if it did, but watch Tejada's reaction after he fouls this off. Watch his reaction. What he wants to run. Most people get hit in the foot. You don't run, right?
Well, in the trajectory of the ball gets changed. If that ball hit him on the foot, it would have gone more towards the pitcher. It just kept going on down to third, between short and third. So you're going to lose that fight.
So the former American League MVP gives up that futile argument. Now with 2 out and nobody on, the unlikely number 3 hitter Mike Fontenot playing shortstop tonight, and he takes a strike.
There's your fastball running.
Yep.
Fontenot making his 8th start for the Giants, hitting just .243, 2 RBIs, not your classic number 3 hitter.
Or by any stretch of the imagination. Well, the one thing about leading off a left-hand hitter, and RA does it more to lefties, is he has that natural sinker, and you just get a strike on the outside corner. You're not going to get hurt with a long ball 99 out of 100 times, or 90 out of 100 times.
And inside 1 and 2, so Dickey, after throwing 6 consecutive strikes, didn't quite reach Roy Halladay territory before throwing his first ball. Halladay, of course, threw 18 straight strikes to start the game against the Mets on Saturday. First since?
Well, I was shocked by first since. I mean, I was shocked. It was our brother Sid Fernandez.
El Sombrero.
How did that happen?
Well, Sid was always good early in games.
Yeah, but not 18 in a row. Come on.
And it's hit sharply to short, and the one-hopper fielded by Reyes. And Dickey, as is his wont, with a spotless first inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first against Ryan's Vogelsong with no score. Of Jason Bay away from the team. He is out on paternity leave, expecting the birth of his third child with his wife Kristen here in the metropolitan area. So Lucas Duda has been called up. He'll play left field tonight. They're in the absence of Bay, as the Mets, who scored just 3 runs in their last 2 games in Philadelphia, try and get their offense revved up against Ryan Vogelsong, who makes his 2nd start since 2004. And the first pitch to Reyes is high for ball 1.
Yeah, 35 total starts in his career, 124 games, and he's been all over the map. Pitched in Japan, pitched about anywhere that they'll let him pitch. For pitching well this year.
Actually started out as a Giants draft pick in 1998. Was traded to the Pirates in the Jason Schmidt deal, which was a great deal for the Giants. Schmidt became their ace for many years. Vogelsong got hurt shortly after joining the Pirates, had Tommy John surgery, and has been a journeyman since then.
And he beat his old team. That's his lone win. 5 days ago, he beat the Pirates.
The only Giant starter to win in the last 11 games, which is remarkable. When you think about that Giant staff with Tim Lincecum, who goes tomorrow night, and Matt Cain and Jonathan Sanchez, and Madison Bumgarner, who I guess has been the underachiever in the line.
0-5, I think, at this point. But, you know, listen, if your team doesn't score any runs, they're going through a lot what the starters for the San Diego Padres are going through also.
Even the Padres are more so. They've been shut out 7 times already. And Reyes lays off the breaking ball, and it's 2-2. Jose hitting at .309, 38 hits on the year. That's 6th in the National League, and leading the National League with 9 infield hits.
You know, in regards to the Padres, they're last in runs and last in on-base percentage, and the team right above them is the Giants in runs. They're 15th and 15th in on-base percentage. Under 300, their on-base percentage. That's awful.
Bochy now in his 6th year as Giants skipper. And Reyes rifles one toward the right field corner, and he's on the run. Shearholtz digs it out of the Mo zone, and Reyes will pull in at second base with a leadoff double. 2nd straight game that Reyes has led off the 1st inning with a double.
Well, Jose coming in hitting .309, and he's been swinging a hot bat. Got off to a little bit of a sluggish start, but boy, he turned it on around the 2nd week of the season and has been hot ever since.
10th double for Reyes, and the Mets are in business.
And nice playing off the wall there in that Mo zone by Shearholtz, because that could be one little mistake out there, and Reyes has got 3.
So here's Daniel Murphy, and since his heroics on Wednesday night in Washington, Daniel's gone just 2 for 15. Getting a .275 for the year. Tejada shortening up in 3rd against what he supposes might be a bunt threat, although you certainly don't expect that from Murphy. And he takes low for ball 1.
Well, in this situation, of course, you all want to get someone over. That's for sure. But that's second best. You want to find something that you can pull and drive in the run. But second best is ground ball, getting them over. And easiest ball to pull, ironically, is the pitch away, not the pitch in.
Well, in a greedy way, I'm just happy. We went through a whole period of Luis Castillo bunting in every single one of these situations, so I'm so happy to see the second place hitter swinging the bat.
Well, the other piece of it is in this situation with Tejada playing in and the limited range on the left side of the Giants infield, you can go that way because they're not going to flag down anything hit hard in that direction.
I say the easiest pitch to pull is the away pitch, particularly on a right-hander, even on a lefty, is that you can turn your top hand over and you can kind of get a little closer to the plate, crowd it, maybe just an inch more that no one will ever notice, and you have much more coverage on the outside corner. Now, you can also go the other way, one pitch, look in. But predominantly, it's going to be the pitch you want is out over the plate.
Or if you'll take one here and it's a strike now as a pitcher, do you look at it that way, that the easiest pitch to pull is away?
Yeah, well, it depends on the hitter a lot of times. But yes, that pitch, middle of the plate away, is easy for them to pull because the ball inside, if they do pull it, it's going to be foul. You know, but how you can counter that really is try to jam him in, or maybe a breaking ball that you hit to the big part of the diamond, which is going to get the runner over.
3-1 to Murphy with nobody out. And he takes ball 4, and the Mets up the first 2 men on. Vogelsong, who walked only 2 in his only previous start, walks the second man to face him.
And the Coors Light Giant defense. You can see the rookie of the year last year, Buster Posey. It's That's pretty good doggone good right there. And I was highlighting Aaron Rowan in center field, the Gold Glover. He won it in 2007, his last year with the Phillies.
Among other issues the Giants have, they are not a gifted defensive team this year.
Well, they suffer some of the same things the Mets do. That is, they in not a quirky ballpark, but a ballpark that's awfully big, especially the right center.
Hard to replace Edgar Renteria. It's short. He played so well for them last year when he was healthy.
So here's David Wright with 2 on and nobody out. And David rifles one to left field. Cody Ross moving back and picks it off for the first down. And both runners return.
I like that at bat by David. The first ball, fastball hitting, and looking middle in and pulling. David's been so set on going the opposite field. And I like the fact that he looked in here and tried to get the barrel of the bat out on, even though the guy just didn't quite get it there.
He hit a line drive. That's all you're looking to do when you come up.
You got it. You just can't be in one mode, right center field, off field, off field. You got to keep the pitcher honest, look in once in a while.
Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mode brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So here's Beltran. And contrary to what we might have thought when we left you on Friday, he played all 3 games over the weekend in Philadelphia. And this is now the 17th straight start for Beltran. So he has not had to give away any playing time over the last 3 weeks to his rapidly improving knees. Carlos at 274 for the year, 3 home runs, all of them as a right-hand batter. Fontenot staying close to Reyes, and the changeup away for ball 1.
Just do not like that pitch. First pitch changeup to a hitter the first time you face him. What are you changing up from? There's no changeup at all. It's just a pitch. You want that changeup to come off your fastball.
And is a hitter going to swing at it? A professional hitter going to swing at it if you put it in a good spot?
Carlos takes the fastball in tight. It's 2-0. Beltran, one of 3 hitters in the Mets lineup who have faced Vogelsong before. Reyes and Wright the other.
Yeah, there's only 9 at-bats against Vogelsong in this lineup for Terry Collins.
Ike Davis back in the 5 hole with Jason Bay away. It's amazing the difference in this batting order, the length of it, with Bay not in it tonight. I mean, we saw that before Jason returned, that, you know, the Mets, once you got past 5 without Bay there, didn't have a lot of depth to their lineup, and they're back in that situation at least for another day or 2. Jason played 10 games. The Mets went 7-3 before he left on paternity leave today. Here's the 2-1.
And Beltran rips it down the line toward the corner. It's out of here. Carlos Beltran with a 3-run homer, his 4th of the year, and it's 3-0 New York. His first as a left-hand batter. And if you can hit home runs in this ballpark, that's the recommended territory.
Well, Carlos here gets a pitch slider and cuts the barrel out. Didn't get it in enough. Watch him go get it. There you go, right on the sweet spot. And there was no doubt about this one. This is a line drive right down the line, and Carlos remains hot, swinging a good bat.
Only the Mets' second 3-run homer of the year. Remember, Jason Pridey had the other one on the last homestand. Now here's Ike Davis, and he takes ball 1.
Well, interesting call here, Keith. Going to see on the ILTV pitch differential. Wants a backdoor slider early in the game. Usually that takes you a couple innings before you get that.
Right down the middle.
Boy, couldn't put it on a tee better for a left-hander.
Why didn't they throw those to me?
They did.
I know.
That's why you hit 344 that one year.
They threw him all the time. He might have hit 35 home runs.
If they throw him like that, there'd be 400 hitters. Unfortunately, they don't.
Vogelsong behind 2-0, and he misses inside to Davis, who's hitless the last 2 games after an 11-game hitting streak. Well, the Mets have had a prodigious home run output in their home ballpark so far this year. 7 straight games now they've homered at home. First time they've done that since they played at Shea. And it's called strike 3-1. Like 0 for 10 over the last 2 games at .317 for the year. Still 9th in the league in slugging percentage. Lucas Duda up from the minor leagues today. to take Jason Bay's spot. And Davis hits one out to center, and Aaron Rowan has it measured. That's the second out. So everybody hitting the ball hard against Vogelsong here in the first inning. And now Duda, who had 17 at bats with the Mets earlier this season, went 2 for 17. Those are his numbers at Buffalo, and he comes off a big game last night for the Bisons.
Got 3 hits last night, including a home run. Hoping that carries over here for the Mets.
This will be his 5th start for the Mets this season.
You know, Chief, you were commenting when Duda made the team out of spring training, his swing was a little slow. He had a hard time getting, you know, it was just a little slow and long.
He's got a long swing, and so he's what you call, you wouldn't want to throw off speed stuff to him. You want to crowd him. And he generates a lot of rhythm. He has a take back that can make him get out in front and swing at bad pitches like that. He hasn't been able to get on track. We haven't seen enough of Lucas, and on a day-to-day basis.
We saw him get off to a terrible start when he came up last year, and then really kick it in gear the last 3 weeks of the season. Check swing foul. Saw those numbers on Vogelsong, a career ERA in the first inning over 12, and it will get no better tonight.
Well, very simple motion. You can see one thing he doesn't do that we saw on Sunday night, that great performance by Chris Young, is that he does not hide the baseball. You can see it pretty well coming out of his hand and being delivered to the plate.
And the curveball bounce foul. How about Chris Young? 7 innings, no runs, 2 hits.
It was just a big performance from the bullpen. Buchholz went 2, Beato went 3, and what more can you say?
It was amazing to me in the first game against the Phillies. Chris Young had such a good split finger. He didn't have it in this last game, but he still made it work against the left-handed hitters, including Howard.
And he had a good curveball.
Really,
the best one we've seen.
Yes, he knows how to make adjustments on the fly.
On the outside corner, Duda down looking to end the inning. But the Mets off to a fast start thanks to Carlos Beltran. Reyes and Murphy on ahead of him. And Beltran pulls the slider down the line. Season. Subscribe to MLB.tv to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Buster Posey hit a cleanup for the Giants, last year's National League Rookie of the Year, in a very crowded and talented field.
Off to a good, if not great, start so far in his sophomore season.
A productive 17 RBI. And I tell you what, Gary, and what impressed us last year when we saw this young man play in the second half of the season, he's going to be a Gold Glove catcher before he's through. He can throw.
It's interesting, you know, he's built with, you know, strong, big legs, and his stance kind of typifies that, doesn't he? He gets in a crouch and really uses his legs to generate some of that power.
The sixth player in Giant history, franchise history, to win the Rookie of the Year award.
Well, they had a few decent rookies.
Well, Gary Matthews for one, Monofusco. Monofusco was the last one in '75.
Posey losing the bat.
See, if you're the Rookie of the Year, doesn't the bat boy have to come get the bat? You got to get your own bat. Come on.
But the knob of the bat chipped when it hit the brick wall back there.
Pretty funny. He's got one of those older bats. See that, Keith?
At the Louisville.
Yeah.
See that chip in the knob?
Yeah.
You must like that bat. That bat must have good wood. You're right, here, Ronnie. Good call.
Toward the middle of the diamond, and Reyes is there. And guns down Posey, one away. So Dickey's retired the first four, and now Aubrey Huff, who was such a huge part of the Giants' unlikely championship season last year, but off to a miserable start this year.
Well, he's on the interstate. You don't want to be there. And here we are in May.
He's driven in some runs. That's the one thing. But Huff started in the outfield, and he could not play there. Just really had a tough go.
Well, they had the rookie Brandon Belt, who had a tremendous spring training in Arizona, playing first base, but then Belt got off to a bad start, got sent back down, and now Huff back in a more comfortable spot.
Huff was a little Hundley-like out there in the outfield.
Well,
Murphy-like.
Right now, Huff is not quite Raul Ibanez, but he is 0 for his last 16. Ibanez is now 0 for 34. He's bearing down on records.
Wow. What is the record?
For a position player, it's really 0 for 47.
Oh, my, I commit suicide.
Let's not be drastic.
I know that Charlie Manuel's very loyal, but Mayberry Jr.'s got to split time with him right now.
1-2 to Huff. He hits it softly. Nobody there except for Reyes, coming a long way to get it and throws him out. Reyes coming about as far as a shortstop ever will for a ground ball to get that one.
Well, watch Jose pounce on this ground ball, as he must. It's a slow roller. Good quickness, good footwork.
Put it in the books, 4.7 to 3.
And the two hands. Jose always uses two hands on the routine ground balls. Good fundies.
So 3 straight ground ball outs for Reyes, 5 straight retired by Dickey, and here's Nate Schierholtz starting for only the 5th time this year. He is the best defensive corner outfielder that the Giants have. Part-time player last year, and again this year, hitting .275.
Keith, one of the few guys, Jorge Posada, Nate Schierholtz, no batting gloves.
Oh, I like that. I didn't notice. Just so used to it. Pat Burrell
getting the night off.
I'm surprised Burrell's not in the lineup, because a knuckleballer, a soft tosser.
How about the net killer?
And not lately.
Well,
and he's been ice cold. So Burrell getting to seal the bench. Only 1 homer and 3 RBIs in his last 26 games against the Mets. Times have changed.
This is a team that's lost 8 out of their last 11, and on this road trip have been averaging less than 2 runs per game.
12 runs in the 7 games. And remarkably, they've won 3 of the 7 only because their pitching is so good.
Hitting .203 as a team their last 11 away goes.
Dickey getting a lot of weak ground balls early in this game. And this time a weak pop-up on the very slow knuckleball, 62 miles an hour, and easy for Wright. 6 up and 6 down for Dickey to start the night. Mets with a 3-0 lead. was the first National League player to have his number retired.
It's got to be a giant.
Josh Toley leads off in the home second.
I have a guess, but I'll keep my mouth shut.
By the way, what do you have to do these days to get a start? 5 hits in your first start isn't enough to play the next game? There's a logical reason. 2 of them, like Josh Toley's playing tonight instead of Ronnie Polino.
Or R.A. Dickey for one.
Right. That's probably the primary reason. The fact that Polino has not caught Dickey enough in the bullpen to feel comfortable, and Toley picks up where Polino left off on Sunday night, leading off the second with a base hit.
So the catchers are 6 for 8 in their last 8 at bats. Very good.
Well, I mean, Polino did something that nobody had done in the major leagues in 51 years. He had 5 hits in his first start for a team.
Just amazing stuff. Foyles, was that his name that did it in the Tigers? Catcher. Yep, he was a catcher. Was it Hank? He was 5 for 7 also.
Yep. Here's Jason Pridey, who has hit much better than one might have expected when he was called up to fill in for Angel Pagan.
He's done a nice job, Jason, and he's done a good job defensively. That's what they wanted from him. Particularly here at Citi Field, this big spacious park, you need good outfielders to patrol out there, particularly in center field.
And he's had 2 home runs and a double in the long game Sunday night. So he has picked up his share offensively. By the way, Pagan played his 2nd straight extended spring training game today as he comes back from the oblique pull. Went 1 for 5 today and played 9 innings. So
that's good
he's
stuff.
getting that much closer. All right, Dickey on that.
The thing about Pridey, he just reminds me a lot of the American League hitters you see. Takes a lot of pitches, works the pitcher, not afraid to get the 2 strikes. 2-0 ball down the middle he'll take. I mean, it's the game has changed in that way. You know, there was a time where 2-0, if you threw a fastball down the middle, someone was swinging. There was no chance of getting called.
That doesn't seem to be an American League game anymore.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
How many 2-0 fastballs have we seen taken for strikes this year? Now it's 3-1.
Well, you know, you make a living, at least I did, on 2-0, 3-1. You got a hit pitcher in trouble, especially with men on base late in the game. He can spin up a curveball on you, and it's a good one. You just take it. Yep. Okay, I dare you to do it again. Well, he's going to get a 3-1 fastball. So let's see if he's ready to pull the trigger here.
And he hits it out to shallow left, and Cody Ross is there. Goldie back to first, 1 away. I always get confused when I see Cody Ross because he's a right-hand hitter, but a left-hand thrower. And those guys are so unusual in the game when you see them, and you see them out there catching the ball with the glove on the right hand. It's just, it's weird.
That's right. That's right. Ricky Henderson, of course, the most famous.
Leon Jones. Ryan Ludwig hit a home run recently for the Padres. Beautiful bunt by Dickey. You can't do it any better. And Huff throws him out. 3-4 on the sacrifice, moving Toley along. Beautiful bunt.
Perfect form. See those fingers protected by the bat, and you want to catch the ball with the bat off the end of the bat. Why? Because it'll kill the speed. By the time it gets the Huff, it's almost stopped. That is as good as it gets right there.
And Huff's charging pretty strong, too.
Third sacrifice of the year for R.A. Dickey. So now Toley in scoring position with 2 out. Reyes, who has struggled so mightily in these situations, will try and get the run in. And curveball for a strike. In every other respect, Reyes has had a terrific year, but he's 2 for 25 with runners in scoring position.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Which means he's hitting about 400 plus in other situations. Snagglepuss.
Well, there's some hitters that come up. That they are not going to be aggressive in that situation. They wait for you to make a mistake. Reyes is the opposite of that. He gets anxious, and you can use his aggressiveness against him in RBI situations.
Two and 1 to Jose.
Well, one thing you can see off Vogelsong right now, he's a sinker ball pitcher for a left-hand hitter.
he's, you're going to get up there 4 at-bats off this. Well, not today's game. Maybe max 3 times. Maybe you get 15 pitches, 12 pitches. I bet you half of them are sinkers away. That's a pretty good percentage to kind of lean on, don't you think?
Yeah. Eliminates half the plate, doesn't it?
And the curveball misses, and now he's behind 3-1.
Well, if you're going to throw a 2-1 curveball with an open base, and Reyes has already winged you, it hurts you with a leadoff double on a fastball.
So Dave Righetti, the Giants pitching coach, looking on. Now on 3-1, Reyes takes, and it's a strike, letter high, 3-2.
And one of the mentioned, as you see this ball, I think Reyes thought it was up. You mentioned Dave Righetti, one of the premier pitching coaches in this game. Now he's been blessed with some talented pitchers, but still.
Yes, Dave had a.
You got to know how to leave them alone too.
Yes, Rags, the big ragu. You got to love him.
3-2 to Reyes, and he walked him, and the Mets have 2-men on. Second walk given up by Vogelsong.
One of those great pitchers who'll be pitching tomorrow night, Tim Lincecum.
Speaking about guys who need to leave him alone, watching him do his sprints today, he's a tremendous athlete.
Yes.
I mean, flexible in a way that you don't see from most baseball players as Righetti takes a trip to the mound. Lincecum clearly at the top of the Giants rotation that fills out with Matt Cain, would be an ace on any other staff.
Right.
Jonathan Sanchez, who was a little wild in his last start and is capable of that, but also very talented.
Got a no-hitter to his name. Bumgarner last year in the playoffs, one of the best performances you've ever seen by a rookie, and of course the well-traveled Vogelsong. But they'll get it going, and once they get it going, they'll start to reel off some victories.
And of course, not pictured there, Barry Zito is on the disabled list for the first time in his career with a foot injury. So here's Murphy, who walked and scored in the first inning. Daniel hitting .421 with runners in scoring position, 2 on and 2 out. And he swings and misses, 0-1.
Well, you mentioned Daniel's troubles is what is 2 for 15. A little upgrade in pitching in Philadelphia. Nothing to be ashamed of.
He didn't start on Sunday night against Cliff Lee, but came off the bench and had 3 at-bats. And the curveball from Vogelsong for a strike, and it's 0-2. David Wright would be next. Mets got a 3-run homer from Beltran in the first inning. He's rearing and ready to go.
You would be too. 1 for 1 with a 3-run bomb. I was just thinking when Righetti went out there, it's almost the equivalent of when a coach calls a timeout in basketball. Do they go out and score a basket? So when a pitching coach goes out to his pitcher, does he get that out the next time?
Do they keep score on those things?
They will.
They ought to. 1-2. In tight to Murph, 2-2.
See, Vogelsong so far has not thrown an inside corner pitch, either a breaking ball or a fastball for strike. He has lived, and there's the pitch count right there. Not very good ball and strike ratio, but he's predominantly on the outside corner. That's his groove.
Curveball here, though, Keith. After that fastball in, curveball trying to get the strikeout.
Posey moves away, and the pitch is low. Fastball, and it's 3-2. So Murphy has worked his way all the way back from 0-2 to 3-2, and that'll set the runners in motion now. Foley has to make sure he doesn't get lapped by Reyes now.
Get a big lead.
Vogelsong, whose balls have nearly caught up to his strikes. 33-year-old out of Kutztown University. 3-2 to Murphy, and the curveball bounced back to the mound. Nice job by Vogelsong, the 3-2 hook, and he gets Murphy to end the inning. Mets strand 2, and after 2 at Citi Field, 3-0 Mets.
station entrance right there. That is fantastic. I
Right
love that.
Cooper Union.
Right by NYU, and you can go over there to Indochine for a little late night.
And Abe Lincoln might be around a couple hundred years ago.
You have proof? Here's Cody Ross leading off, and Knuckler gets away from Josh Tolley, 1-0. Ross, who was such an integral part of the Giants' late season and postseason success last year, started this year on the disabled list with a calf injury and has not yet caught up, hitting just 189. And you know, you think about the Giants of last year, and beyond the great pitching, so much of what happened seemed magical.
Yeah. I mean, Cody Ross came over from Florida, and you could not get him out.
They just got on a roll. Buster Posey came up and just lit it up.
But for journeyman players like Ross and Huff and Edgar Renteria had been a star, but on the backside of his career, and Juan Uribe, and all those guys to play at the absolute top level.
And Pat Burrell, to a point, got some big hits for them also when he went over there.
4-pitch walk to Ross, first base runner for the Giants, and the Giants clinched all three of their postseason series on the road since they went to the three-tiered playoffs. Only the 05 White Sox had done that, but it's just that it's a hard thing to duplicate when you have that kind of a season, when you have players who are not star players play at the absolute top of their game. It, in many ways, kind of like the '69 Mets. Here's Emmanuel Burris, the second baseman, and he takes a wild back. And Burris getting a start tonight with Freddie Sanchez sitting down.
And some of the things were not in their power. The 10-game swoon by the Padres, if that doesn't happen, they never make it into the playoffs.
What did they have? 4 shutouts in the playoffs? That was a record. That says a lot about that pitching staff.
Well, you know, we said it all along last year. If the Giants could ever get to the postseason, they'd have a great chance because of their rotation.
It's all
that turned out just that way.
And in today's game with the 30 teams and the expansion, when you get in the playoffs, you start getting into the upper echelon of teams. Obviously, they're there. They're playing a much higher competition. A lot of weak sisters around the league.
And of course, the other piece for the Giants was their bullpen, led by Brian Wilson. They were tremendous.
And they just threw it. The World Series was amazing. The first game was in their building. I went there with my boys, and Tony Bennett came on the field in the 3rd inning and sang "I Left My Heart in San Francisco." There wasn't a dry eye in the place. It was just, I don't know, they just had that magic all season long.
They've been waiting for that in San Francisco for a long, long time, since 1958 when the Giants moved.
And I tell you, I grew up in the Bay Area, and what, 62 when they lost to the Yankees in the 7th game. McCovey's line drive with the bases loaded right at Bobby Richardson.
Burris floats one to shallow right, and that's the first Giants hit. Dunker for Burris, and the Giants have the first 2 men on in the 3rd.
Well, there goes another Met no-hitter.
49 years plus 29 games. I mean, it was all set up tonight, right?
It could have been done tonight. Knuckleballer. I'm telling you, I just want to say that a team coming in, struggling like the Giants offensively, collectively, to face a knuckleballer, it's got to be disturbing to go into the game. And you see the defense right there, and they're going to be playing the bunt here, obviously.
I said maybe it's easier, Keith, because they haven't been hitting traditional pitching. Change it up a little bit.
If I was in a deep slump and I had to face a knuckleballer for like Phil Niekro or R.A. Dickey, I'd be very nervous coming into the game.
Interesting seeing Tim Flannery come down and talk to Vogelsong. Would they do something other than bunt here?
No, because the Mets have been running the wheel. He wants to make sure that he's aware of that.
And he does swing and hits it sharply up the middle for a base hit. Ross around 3rd. He'll come in to score. First to 3rd goes Burris. He has great speed. Good play by Wright, not allowing that ball to get out of play. And Dickey was backing up home, so if that ball got by Wright, it had a long way to travel.
Precisely. That would have been big trouble. And Vogelsong must be swinging a pretty good bat. That's a nice swing he's putting on there. Mets very aggressive in the corners defensively. Reyes was way over into close to 3rd base.
Well, Gary, you said Vogelsong's one of those kids that started as an infielder. in his collegiate life.
You can see where Reyes was situated. And really, when you run the wheel, it was almost a giveaway of the wheel.
That's clearly what Tim Flannery came down to tell Vogelsong. If you see Reyes vacating, take a hack. And he did, and he drove in a run. Now it's 3-1 New York, and Rowan drives one into center, and that'll bring in a run. Emmanuel Burris trots in to score, and all of a sudden the Met lead is trimmed to 3-2. And still nobody out in the inning. Rowan drives in his 9th run of the year. And so it has gone for Dickey this year, starting with a leadoff walk.
Well, this is a hanging knuckleball, but don't forget, with the pitcher, Vogelsong, Flannery came down and also let him know he probably thinks you're bunting. You're going to get a first pitch fastball, which he did. And that made a difference, too.
So now the tying run at second with nobody out. Here's Tejada, who had a comebacker his first time up. And he tries to push a bunt, and he misses, 0-1. It was not a bunt for a sacrifice. He was trying to bunt for a hit.
And it wasn't a drag bunt here.
You know, with this a knuckleball to Rowan, the pitch differential, always looking for a knuckleball up in the strike zone. If it's up, it probably doesn't break as much, and you have a better chance of hitting it.
Ooh, good cut.
You know, you saw Tejada try to bunt there. He tried to bunt that ball hard to Murphy. He's trying to take advantage of Murphy's inexperience.
If you're going to do that, you got to get it past Dickey first. And Dickey fields his position very well. Now he's ahead on Tejada, 0-2. And it's bounced slowly. Right's only play is going to be to first. And he gets Tejada for the first out of the inning, but the runners advance to second and third.
Well, not a bad idea by Tejada. You got a team that's struggling, with Tejada struggling at the plate to try to bunt the runners over, but then he just does it with 2 strikes on a swinging bunt.
He gets rewarded for not hitting the ball hard enough.
Those are the breaks of the game right there. And that break went against the Mets.
So now Mike Fontenot hitting third in the order. Rounded out to short his first time up. Mets will keep the infield back with the exception of Wright, conceding the tying run on a ground ball. And Fontenot hits it up the middle. Vogelsong is in. Rowan right behind him. Here comes the throw by Pridey. It's cut off. It's a 2-run single for Mike Fontenot. The Giants have scored 4 times in the third inning and lead 4-3. An inning that came out of nowhere against R.A. Dickey.
Well, it's one of those things, Gary. You got a team coming off a Washington series, losing 3 out of 4, not scoring any runs, and you know it can't go on forever. And you don't want to be the team that catches them when they bust out.
Well, the Giants in the first 7 games of their road trip were 3 for 42 with runners in scoring position. And they've already got 3 hits with runners in scoring position in this inning. Here's Buster Posey, who grounded to short his first time up. So Dickey trying to stop the bleeding now. Misses high with the knuckler, and it's 1-0. Well, he retired the first 6. The Giants had nary a good swing against him, but he walked Cody Ross on 4 pitches to start the inning. Burris behind in the count just dumped one into right field, and the wheels have been spinning for the Giants ever since. Well, the Giants scored 4 runs in 4 games in Washington over the weekend, averaging 1.7 runs per game on this road trip, but they have 4 in this inning. 1-1 to Posey.
Never figure in this game, can you? It just it's just crazy.
And how many times have we grown up with kids? You go out and see an ace pitching against number 5 starter. The number 5 starter outgoes the ace.
Right.
You know, you cannot. This game is tough to figure out.
There goes the runner. The pitch outside, and Tolde drops the ball, and Fontenot has his first stolen base of the year.
Well, tough chance for Tolde here on this knuckleball. Watch it go into the dirt. That's a tough one. That's in the dirt. Tough one for him to throw.
Thought he had it.
Well, that's the other problem you have for R.A. Dickey, is that if they do get a lead, they will start running as much as possible.
Dickey handles this one, looks Fontenot back, and gets the second out. So Posey is retired, 2 away.
I mean, I'm going to make an example of running on knuckleball pitchers, and you always want to run on knuckleball pitchers. But the one you couldn't run on was Phil Niekro. And Lou Brock, my teammate, always moaned and groaned to the umpire. Lou never complained.
He had a balk move.
He never stopped.
Yeah.
He never came to a stop at the belt. And Lou would just get furious and moan to the umpires about it.
Aubrey Huff, 8th man up in the inning, and another one boxed by Tolle, 1-0.
Well, Hensley Mullins, the hitting coach for San Francisco, his team's had a nice approach, haven't they? Vogelsong hit up the middle, Rowan hit up the middle, Fontenot hit up the middle, Posey made it out up the middle.
Well, they sat a couple of their regular starters tonight. Freddie Sanchez, Pat Burrell, both have been struggling. And another one up the middle, and Mickey handles this one and takes care of Huff to end the inning. But the Giants sent 8 men to the plate, and they put together 4 hits and scored 4 runs. The pitcher Vogelsong chipping in, Rowan and Fontenot with big hits as well, and it's 4-3 San Francisco in the middle. But the Giants with a 4th spot in the top of the 3rd. Now the Mets present the heart of the batting order to try and respond against Ryan Vogelsong. It'll be David Wright, Carlos Beltran, and Ike Davis.
Wright's first at bat, first ball, fastball hitting and looking in. Just got it in enough. Hit a nice line drive right at the left fielder.
Takes the first pitch fastball for a strike.
A big hang with them, as we say in the game.
Very interesting, right? With people on base. First pitch trying to rush right in. No one on base now, pitching more out over the plate.
Oh,
very nice.
There's some fans.
Two and 1 to David.
Oh, fastball count, and David swung right through it. Under it. See? That old cylindrical bat and spherical ball makes it tough.
Posey wants a curveball on 2-2. And it's inside, full count. Of course, Wright and the rest of the Mets were involved in an extraordinary night on Sunday night. 14-inning victory, punctuated by the much more important news from Washington and from Pakistan. And of course, the players were unaware of what was going on until they heard the chants from the Philly crowd. 2 high ball 4. And David, after the game, knew what had happened and was appreciative of what he had heard from the Phillies fans.
Obviously, during the game, you heard the chants and didn't know exactly what was going on, but found out I guess an inning or two later. So it's pretty cool. I don't like to give Philadelphia fans too much credit, but they got this one right, and I guess a proud moment, to stand out there and you got 45, 50,000 people chanting. That was pretty special.
And of course, it was sheer coincidence that the Mets were involved in the only sporting event going on at the time that the news came down on Sunday night, fully 10 years after 9/11. When you think back that, remember that game 10 days after 9/11 at Shea Stadium, which was a big piece of the catharsis for this city after the terrorist attacks, and the part that the Mets had in helping the city recover in whatever small way. It almost seemed fitting that the Mets were there that night. I was interested in reading a lot of the newspaper stories that came out over the last 2 days, talking to some of the 2001 Mets, and a quote from Robin Ventura saying after that night on September 21st of 01, Beltran pops one up to shallow left. Tony Ross pings it. He said, every time I hear bagpipes, I think of that night. And for me, it's exactly the same. I just remember these bagpipes walking in from center field, playing a medley of patriotic songs. It was one of the most stirring things that I can remember. And I remember choking up and having trouble talking after that. It was, that night had so many memories. People remember the Piazza home run, but it was so much more than that. You were there, Keith.
I was there, and obviously an emotional night. And just the script for the game was just incredible. I mean, I know Piazza with the big home run, but it was a very solemn game, and a lot of the players just felt it kind of uplifted them. I think it was just so tough for them to go play after 9/11.
Well, if you remember, the Mets returned to action in Pittsburgh, and the mood there for the 3 games was so somber and so solemn. I can't even imagine how the players played. As
Davis drives one to deep right center. Forget that. That is long gone. A 2-1 homer for Ike Davis, and the Mets are back in front 5-4. Number 6 for Ike. And the Mets continue their Citi Field home run barrage.
Well, smart hitting by Ike here, getting more aggressive. You got a pitcher out there, if you're paying attention, that's not getting his breaking ball over with any consistency. And a sinker ball pitcher is a fastball out over the plate. Don't let him get that first ball strike.
Beltran, a 3-run homer in the first, and after the Giants took the lead, Ike Davis puts the Mets right back in front with a 2-run homer in the third. That snaps him have an 0-for-11 spell. Lucas Duda took call third strike his first time up. We're talking about is the ball that Ike hit, belonging now to Pedro Beato.
Shaped like a square now. Hit like that. Please. Maybe he knocked the cover off the ball. Oh, natural. I will say, you guys were there and I was not, but I was watching the game today. I was on yesterday on our network. And the one thing that I had not seen before was the pregame ceremonies. I always see the Piazza home run, but I also did not know that after the players were announced, and usually they go back to the bench, they all met in the middle of the field and gave each other hugs and handshakes, and that was I'd never seen that before. And I was watching TV by myself in my apartment, and I was kind of choked up watching it.
There were a lot of tears that night. But it was, in many ways, that game, the first game back in New York, was catharsis. As Duda takes a call through a strike, it's easy to forget that you know, at that point, 10 days post 9/11, didn't quite know what to expect when they gathered en masse, 40,000 people at Shea Stadium. People were still fearful in a certain respect, and I think as that night went on, it became less about mourning and more about celebrating the fact that we were all still here and still together.
So there was not only the fear, of course, but also you're saying that people didn't know whether to cheer or not, or?
I think that was more the case in Pittsburgh. As that's pulled into right, and Tolley is 2 for 2. So the Met catchers continue to contribute with the bats.
There were so many things that it just kind of stunned everybody. I remember the day that it happened, I wound up cleaning my apartment. All my rooms, even my baseboards, I just did it all day. And after the game, for whatever reason, just to stay busy. And then after the game home, I didn't have a bunch of games for a while. For some reason, don't ask me why, I got in my car and I drove to Gettysburg. And I spent 5 days in Gettysburg walking through the park.
I just remember sitting in Pittsburgh that first night back, and you know what the view was like there of the skyline of Pittsburgh right outside the stadium. I remember looking at that and thinking about what we had lost here in New York and just breaking down. And, you know, it was very, very tough. 1-1 to Pride. So I think, you know, again, in some ways it's almost fitting that as we've come to this point 10 years later, some measure of whatever you want to call it, completion, redemption, whatever, with what happened on Sunday, that the Mets somehow in some small element were part of it again. I thought it was also fitting that Bobby Valentine was there, because Bobby was such a big part of the effort here. Shea Stadium was turned into a station for all the equipment that the first responders and those who went into the pile afterward needed, and so many of the Met players were a part of that. But Bobby was, you know, working 24 hours a day to help with that effort. Friday grounds one down to first, and Huff takes care of that to end the inning. But the Mets go back in front. Ike Davis with a 2-run bomb. Seems like all his home runs are bombs. His 6th of the year. 20. Fourth inning, Mets with a 5-4 lead. Nate Scherholz leads off against R.A. Dickey and hooks the first pitch foul. So for two teams who have been struggling the last few days offensively, there has been a bust out here at Citi Field.
9 runs in the first 3 innings. Wow.
And scored just 6 runs in their 3-game series in Philadelphia. They've got 5 already tonight. And it's hit hard to short and right through Reyes. And Scherholz has himself a base hit. Talk about getting even up on a one-hopper.
Well, it's the right approach. And Ronnie, you brought a point last inning, half inning, the Giants going up the middle. And tough chance for Jose. It's going up the middle on knuckleballer. You got to wait to the last possible minute.
So
Second.
The Giants have their 5th hit.
Second, excuse me. You don't have a minute to wait. Seconds.
It's a millisecond.
Yes.
Runner goes. Toley's throw is into the runner and into center field, and Scherholz will get up and go to third. Well, a good throw, and Toley would have had Scherholz dead at second base, but the throw was not a good one.
Well, the Giants aren't wasting any time here. Quick release, but you see, you kind of throw it sidearm, and then when you throw it a little 3/4, you have that little run. It's a great angle right there. That little run into right field. Catcher must come over the top to keep that ball straight.
So the Giants, who had stolen just 12 bases in 28 games, have 2 already tonight. Runner at third with nobody out. And it's 1-1 to Cody Ross.
I used to play with a catcher that, as you look at the defense here, pretty straight up, Keith, right? But the corner's in. Very nice.
Very rough for Josh Toley behind the plate so far this year. Not just throwing out runners, but he's not been handling the ball as well as he did last year.
And if you don't handle the ball well, it seeps into all the other parts of your catching.
Scherholz the tying run at third with nobody out. And Ross swings through the knuckleball, 2-2. He can't swing through a knuckleball. I guess the knuckleball danced around his bat.
Danced around the bat, yeah, like a very animated cartoon-like. The thing about Ross, though, Ross is not a middle-of-the-plate guy. He is a guy that likes to let it rip.
Well, that didn't break. He just was looking to lift. Big uppercut.
Maybe he did swing through it.
He did.
2-2. Bounce to third. Runner holds. Now Scherholz breaking, and White loses any play. Scherholz went far enough down the line to make David look, and then was able to scamper back, and by that time David had no play at first.
Well, David's off the line here, and nice base running by Scherholz. And you got to get the out. You've got to get the out here. You can't come up empty-handed. It's a nice deke by Scherholz. Give him credit here. Now, Scherholz knows there's no one can possibly be covering third base. If I can come down the line, the rule is you can come far as down the line as the third baseman has to go into play, and he can't beat you back to the bag.
That was a great deke. It was. But for David, it's got to be one peak over there, and you got to trust he's not going and getting out.
And again, that's a fielder's choice, Gary.
Choice. That's how Ross reaches, so no base hit. So first and third, and nobody out.
Down. No, fielder's choice because he would have been out.
You need some white out.
No.
You don't use white out. You never make mistakes.
How can I? You guys are using it all the time. I never have a chance to use it.
Burris blooped to hit his first time up. That was the first hit for the Giants. So the last time through the order, Giants with 5 hits. Scherholz at third and Ross at first with nobody out. And Dylan G gets up in the Mets bullpen with Dickey having trouble getting people out.
He's the official long man in that bullpen.
Little topper. Scherholz breaks for the plate. Dickey will have to go for the out at first. Gets that, but the game is tied as Scherholz comes home on the 1 unassisted ground out. But it's a 5-5 game.
It's going to be one of those seesaw affairs, guys.
No one could have hit the ball any softer than Burris is hitting his first 2 at bats. He's got a knock and an RBI.
So now Vogelsong with a runner at second and 1 out. Vogelsong swung at the first pitch he saw and lined a base hit to drive in a run in the third. Ronnie mentioned his past as a position player. That was in college. He walked on at Kutztown University. Walked on, Division II, and was a backup shortstop when he got there. 2 guys quit the team, so they gave him a job as a third baseman. Then 2 pitchers broke their arms, and they let him pitch.
Wow.
And by the time he was done at Kutztown, he was a number 5 draft pick by the Giants in '98. Okay, name me another professional athlete who played at Kutztown.
I have no idea.
Where is Kutztown?
Pennsylvania.
Now, what's their nickname? Kutztown.
Now you got it.
Okay.
But Bruce Harper went there. Come on, every Jet fan knows that. David Wright throws out Vogelsong in the second half. Number 42, little kick return.
Yes.
You remember.
Fantastic guy and player.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets.
By the way, I don't know if you knew this, Gary, but the stuff that you know about the Jets and the Mets, only 5% of the people know that stuff. Maybe less. You think you're in the majority, you're not. You know, your knowledge is extensive.
Here's Aaron Rowan, and he takes a strike. I have, with help from Dave Freed, our statistician, located the nickname of Kutztown. They have something in
they're the Golden Bears.
Northern California school of note.
Cal Berkeley Golden Bears.
Kutztown Golden Bears. Somehow that doesn't flow quite the same way as Cal.
I didn't know they had Golden Bears in Pennsylvania. I thought you had Black Bears.
Grizzlies too. Dickey's been getting ahead of the hitters. Now trying to put away Rowan to get through this inning. And it misses inside. A ball and 2 strikes. Rowan drove in a run with a 3rd inning single. Dickey started the night with a 1-3 record, a 3.82 ERA. Has not won in exactly a month since his first start of the year in Florida. In a 5-5 tie tonight, and that one gets past Tolley, and that'll send Ross over to third.
Well, this should be ruled a wild pitch. Yep. Oh, boy, that's a tough one.
I don't think it's a.
Squire agrees with you. Wild pitch.
Well, didn't hit the ground.
I always feel if it hits leather, it's a pass ball. If it hits the ground, it's a wild pitch.
It's exactly right. That's my feeling too.
Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mo brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com.
And what you always worry about when a runner advances to third base with 2 outs, now an error scores him. Now a ground ball in the hole that the infielder knocks down scores the run. It's just so important to keep that runner on second base.
Perhaps more appropriately here, the pass ball scores the run.
Right.
In fact, the Mets catchers lead the National League by far in pass balls. Now, having R.A. Dickey obviously has something to do with that. You're going to have pass balls from the knuckleball pitcher, but nonetheless, it has been an issue. Tejada would be next. 3-2 to Rowan. Pulled down to third, and David Wright has the ball come up for him. And he throws him out to end the inning. But the Giants get even. Sherholtz singles, steals a base, and scores to tie it at 5.
Is that your daughter?
You got to have your goalie hold the trophy. Back at Citi Field, where it's a 5-5 game as we go to the bottom of the fourth. R.A. Dickey having troubles on the mound. He'll try and help himself at the plate. Sacrifices first time up. Takes inside from Ryan Vogelsong for ball one.
Very interesting. R.A. Dickey buzzed Vogelsong, and payback.
It's so childish.
Oh, childish.
Boy, if you change. 1-1 to Dickey. With Reyes and Murphy to follow in the fourth. Cutter from Vogelsong, and it's 1-2. The story this week about R.A. naming his bats after swords.
Yes.
I haven't asked him about that.
And Burris can't make the diving catch, but recovers and throws out Dickey. That's quite a recovery by Emmanuel Burris.
Well, it's a clank. You always want to hope that if someone get a glove on, you're going to catch it.
Well, he leaped past it, almost like he closed his glove before the ball got in there.
But a nice recovery nevertheless.
Ball hit his foot. Otherwise, that would have bounced too far away from him. So he got a little lucky there. So 1 out. Entertaining. And now Reyes has already been aboard twice with a double and a walk. He scored a run, and Jose thinks about a bunt and takes a strike. Reyes was doing a lot of bunting and bluffing bunting the first week or two of the season, with very little since.
Well, he's got Tejada and Huff in on the corners. And that's his plan. Bring him in and hit the ball on the ground the hole sharply. Huff's backing off a little bit now.
Now you got Reyes pointing at Tejada. Tejada's telling Reyes, don't bunt. I'm ready for it, kid.
Reyes, the next generation of shortstop from the Dominican after Tejada. Tejada, one of the major league players that everybody in the Dominican has always looked up to. A guy who would play 160 games a year, an MVP with the A's back in '02. Here's your AT&T trivia question. We asked you who was the first National League player to have his number retired.
Keith and I had the same.
It might be a Giant.
Oh, we were wrong. We thought it was not a lot. Carl Hubble.
The great screwballer, Carl Hubble.
1944. Wow.
Hubble had a magnificent career, but always will be known more than anything else from his performance at the All-Star game in 1934.
Took out 5 guys in a row, right?
5 Hall of Famers
yes.
in a row.
Gehrig, Ruth,
Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin.
Joe Cronin, of course, probably the least well-known. Great shortstop for the Red Sox. One of the first shortstops with power.
The Giants have been around so long, as Reyes is aboard for the 3rd straight time, that they've even retired the numbers of players who didn't have numbers. They retired the number of Christy Mathewson, never wore a number. They retired the number of John McGraw, never wore a number. Numbers didn't really come into vogue until the 20s.
What did Christy have? The fadeaway, they used to call it, didn't it? That was his famous pitch, which would probably be the changeup of today's game.
I think the numbers were what your position in the order was.
The Yankees started that. Yeah, that's with Ruth 3 and Garrett 4.
Wow.
But other Giants who had their numbers retired: Bill Terry, Mel Ott, Monty Irvin, Willie Mays, Juan Marichal, Orlando Cepeda, Gaylord Perry, and Willie McCovey.
One of the great first basemen, Bill Terry, hardly even mentioned today.
Well, he was the last National Leaguer to hit 400.
Yep, he was really some kind of hitter. And you never hear about him.
And manager of the Giants, too. Isn't he the guy who said is Brooklyn still in the league? Isn't that something?
That's right. What, he had 401 that year?
1930, I think. Murphy drives one to right, but Sherholtz is there. Reyes back to first, 2 out. Terry, 1930.
Yeah. You know how much fun that must be? 14 seasons that you have hit 341 for 14 years.
1930 was one of the great hitting years in the history of the game. There were teams that hit 300 as a team in 1930. And like 1987 was in your era, and everybody all of a sudden had big years. They were talking about the ball being juiced.
They called box
yeah, the
all
balk
the
year,
time.
350 something balks that year.
Joke.
And then the next year they dialed back and everybody got the memo except Bob Davidson.
Still hasn't got it, by the way.
See if Reyes tries to swipe one here. 10 steals and 12 tries this year. Not going, and right takes a strike.
That's a hanging curveball, wasn't it, Keith? That's just the one that starts out on your shoulder, and if you buckle, you're done. But if you stay in, it breaks right into your wheelhouse.
There are times when you'd really like to see Jose steal. There was one of those times Saturday afternoon. I don't know if you guys were watching at the top. 8th inning. Mets had just fallen behind 2-1. Reyes gets a base hit with 1 out. And you got Dane Sardinha catching for the Phillies. You got to run on the first pitch. He didn't. Murphy hits into a double play.
Yep.
Mets lose the game 2-1. There are certain situations, I think, that just cry out for him getting a must-steal sign.
It's not only that. Holiday's pitching. You're not going to get 3 or 4 hits in a row off Holiday. You'd be lucky to get 1 hit. So you got to put yourself in scoring position.
I mean, this is a little different. You got Wright at the plate, and you got journeyman pitcher on the mound.
I don't mind staying here. Let Wright hit a double or hit something out of the ballpark.
There goes Jose. And the throw by Posey, a good one, but too late. And Reyes has his 11th stolen base of the year. So now he's in scoring position with 2 down.
Watch Posey's footwork here. Watch him throw. Right on the money. That kick and throw. The one thing that impressed me, obviously, is hitting, but I look to other aspects of a player's game. I'm particularly fond of defense, and that's what impressed me with Posey.
So now Vogelsong behind on right, 3-1 with the go-ahead run in scoring position. And David hits a slow ground ball, and Tejada throws him out to end the inning. So the Mets strand a runner after 4, still 5-5.
Sabia now with the Giants. Got to be interesting for him not to be on the bench this year for San Francisco, or for anybody for that matter. We welcome you back to Citi Field. Couple of fives on the board. Mets and Giants all tied up. And when you talk about the Mets right now, you look at their pitching staff and you look at Dylan G. Friday night was interesting. After he came in relief of Mike Pelfrey, Terry Collins postgame basically said that, you know what, I don't know, maybe G is not in the right spot. And I followed up with him on that today. They said, look, right now we determined G is the guy that could best get outs for us. However, with the Henry Mejia injury, which if you're just tuning in and miss it, it's a big one. Mejia, as Ike Davis makes the play, Tejada retired, one down. Mejia has a torn MCL in his elbow, so that basically means he's headed to Tommy John surgery. He's going to get a second opinion, but it looks like he's going to be lost for the year. And that's a big blow because obviously he's not going to be coming up anytime this year. Terry Collins today, when I asked him about G, said this. He said, look, that definitely changes the equation for me. We'll have to think about that because Boof Bonser down in Buffalo, he's out for the year. Looks like Henry Mejia, he's out for the year. And what Terry said is, you know, I think we do have to have some kind of insurance as a starter. And right now, we don't really have that. So it sounds to me, guys, that they're going to continue to evaluate Dylan G, whether he makes more sense with the big club in the pen or in AAA, getting ready to go in case they need that quick starter.
Of course, DJ Carrasco got sent down rather than G. When Chris Young came off the disabled list, is there and available to go into the bullpen if necessary. Murphy throws out Fontenot for the second out. Dan Runzler up in the bullpen for the Giants, but I think it raises a larger question about Mejia's future. He had the shoulder problem last year after he went to the minors, and now blows out his elbow. And the question is, can he be a starter, or does he have to be a relief pitcher?
A lot of effort into it. He puts a lot of effort into every pitch, Ron.
You're right. He's 100 miles an hour on every pitch, and that's not what starting is all about. Well, maybe it is what it's all about in today's game because they go 5 and 6 and go as hard as they can. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I watched Justin Verlander throw a 99 after 125 pitches last night.
Yeah, he's their version of the freak. You got Lincecum and he's the other.
Nothing to Posey is 0 for 2 tonight. It's unfortunate for Mejia, but
yeah, it really is.
Just 21 years old. He's got a great future if the Mets can figure out how to use him to his best advantage. And Posey down swinging. Good fastball by Dickey to finish him off. That's his first strikeout of the night. Halfway through, tied at 5. By Sports Authority, offering $5,000 grants to in-need organizations to be used for new equipment, uniforms, or field improvements. The deadline to apply is June 15th. For details, visit SNY.TV or any local Sports Authority location. Here's your Toyota text poll for tonight. Do you think Buster Posey should have won the Rookie of the Year over Jason Hayward? For that matter, Ike Davis. Text 57508 or visit SNY.TV. Or any of the numerous other candidates.
We're supposed to wait until they answer it, then we can talk about it, right? Okay.
Dan Runzler on to pitch for the Giants. And it's Vogel's song, but exits stage right after 4 innings.
Runzler, a guy who throws 93 to 95 miles an hour. Good slider, changeup slider is his best pitch.
Carlos Beltran got the Mets started tonight, ripping a 3-run homer into the right field corner for his 4th of the year.
97.
Davis on deck, and then Lucas Duda.
You see the gun, 97?
Come on, didn't look like 97.
The guy's got an ERA almost 7.
And check swing foul ball at 95.
I always liked the giant road uniforms at San Francisco.
All the way across the chest,
like
right?
a span of the bridge, you know. It's
Runzler was up with the Giants last year, but wound up missing 2 months when he took his first major league at bat in July of last year. He fouled a pitch and caught his spikes in the clay, and his kneecap popped out. Missed 2 months.
These guys that give pitchers bad names.
dislocated patella.
I mean, that's an angry injury.
Can you imagine?
These guys never come to bat in their minor league career, except for, you know, a rare time maybe National League against National League, and the relief pitcher gets an at bat. Beltran fights it off.
Runzler, when he was in high school, he was an outfielder, but he was moved being a pitcher by my good friend Mark Gubica, who became a high school coach for a couple of years.
And Beltran rips one down the left field line, but it hooks and goes foul. So Beltran making a bid to homer from both sides of the plate. Runzler, by the way, has only given up 2 home runs in his major league career, and strangely enough, they both come to catchers. Henry Blanco and Nick Hunter. Josh Toley, get ready. 1-2. And Beltran pulls that one down the line. That'll stay fair into the corner. And so Carlos Beltran has his second extra base hit of the night as he greets Runzler with a double.
Well, here's a case of a guy that throws very hard and has no secondary pitches. Beltran just finally got a good beat on him, Ronnie. The home run foul, and he just rips a double down the left field line.
And for you folks at home, you know, you think a guy's throwing 97 is got to be impossible to hit. For the guys of this quality, maybe on the first fastball he sees, maybe on the second, the more fastballs they see, and if it's straight, they just turn it up. They turn the volume up just a little bit, and no problem hitting 97.
Mike Davis has struggled against lefties so far this year. Hit a 2-run homer his last time up to give the Mets a brief 5-4 lead. Now he's got Beltran at second and nobody out. And Ike checks a swing and went around on the slider.
First pitch fastball hitting. Got a fastball right down the pipe, and he launched it.
Dunking that one into the bullpen.
Like one of those at bats that you have to watch now. If you're a fan, you got to be in your seat when Ike's hitting.
Although lately against lefties, they've dominated him with breaking stuff.
So you're telling the folks not to go to the Shake Shack when Doc, when he's up?
Yes, yes I am. Yes I am. Unless while you're in line you can see out from center field.
Scott Hairston out on deck to bat for Lucas Duda. Last year we saw Ike come up and have some instant success against lefties. See much different now?
he's doing fine. He's hit some balls hard. They're pitching him differently now. When you're a rookie, you get ahead in the count. They're going to come after you. They got to respect him now. They're giving him more breaking balls.
4 in a row from Runsler, who strikes him out for the first out.
It's a constant adjustment. Pitchers are constantly making adjustments. I've been kind of fishing a little bit for the bad breaking ball. I think the left-handers last season were trying to pitch Ike away and in, and every time they came in, because of his little bail action against the lefty, it was the middle of the plate. Now they've just been content to stay away all the time.
Well, it just seems like if he's stepping in the bucket, he's going to be vulnerable away.
So is there anything he can do? I mean, other than avoiding stepping in the bucket, can he
move closer to the plate? Closer to the plate?
It's so logical.
Keith has been hitting that Rosetta Stone or something. I don't know what's going on.
So Lucas Duda out after 2 at-bats. And Scott Hairston will come up in a lefty-righty switch. Hairston hitting just 182 for the year. But as Terry Collins keeps saying, he's on this team because of the way he hits lefties. So he'll take a crack at Runsler here. Misses low for ball 1. Behind Hairston, you have 2 more left-hand hitters, Tolle and Pridey. Ryan Vogelsong threw 82 pitches in 4 innings, allowed 5 runs, 5 hits, walked 4, struck out 2, gave up 2 home runs, and fortunate to have a no decision tonight. R.A. Dickey's still in the game, hoping the Mets can get him another lead. He's been hit twice already tonight. And now they're going to intentionally walk Hairston and bring up the left-hand hitter Tolle. Interesting move. Let's check in with Kevin.
You know, guys, I was talking to Scott about just, his first month and where he is at the plate. Obviously, he wasn't where he wanted to be. And he said, honestly, I think I'm seeing the ball a lot better. I was certainly a bit jumpy to start the year. And it's tough, though, because at one point you say, okay, well, I don't want to try to do too much. But then if you get in that mode, your bat starts to lag behind a little bit. So it's such a mental game that you play with yourself. I asked him about, just getting that start once a week or once every 10 days. And he's saying it's just huge because, with the 1 at-bat as a pinch hitter, it's hard to build on that. But with 2 at-bats, you can build on that and take that into your next pinch hitting appearance. Guys?
It's tough pitch hitting, Kev. I can sympathize with Scott. It's the toughest job in the game. You're struggling, you cut off the gate slow, and you only get 1 at-bat. You can't get a rhythm. You do all that BP you want. In the cage, there's no substitute to actually getting in the batter's box in a game experience. The Mets talked about it, Gary and Keith. This is the first time that it's come to fruition. Not having 3 catchers doesn't allow them to use Paulino here.
1-1 to Tolle, who's 2 for 2 tonight. He hits a double play ball to short. Fontenot to Burris and on to first. 6-4-3 on the double play. So the move walking Hairston to get to Tolle pays off for Bruce Bochy and the Giants. After 5, still time. Get insider info on all the latest New York sports news, plus a preview of tomorrow's Mets-Giants matchup. In the Wheelhouse, presented by Pepsi, part of the New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 5:30 on SNY.
So we don't have to do an opening.
Because we'll already have heard the insight.
Exactly.
Scott Harrison stays in the game in left field. Aubrey Huff leads off and swings at the knuckleball. 0-1. R.A. Dickey has retired the last 5 to face him. And hoping that he has settled into a groove now in a 5-5 game as we start the 6th inning. Huff is 0 for 2. Couple of ground ball outs, and he lifts this one out to left. Hairston gets an immediate chance and handles it easily for the first out. That has not been a friendly part of the ballpark for Scott.
Well, he really jarred himself on that one line drive that the ball eluded him. Hit him in the glove, but eluded him.
He hurt his back. Had to sit out for a few days. Here's Nate Scherholtz, who hit a bullet that ate up Jose Reyes for a base hit, then stole a base and scored the tying run in the 4th. Mets were up 3-0, down 4-3, up 5-4 after Ike Davis's home run in the 3rd, and then the Giants tied it in the top of the 4th. And Scherholtz swings and misses, 0-1.
That's the best knuckleball Dickey's thrown today. That bottom just dropped out of that one.
RA's pitch count still very low. Not that pitch counts mean a whole lot for knuckleball pitchers, but they probably mean more for Dickey than for your garden variety knuckleballer, just because he throws harder than most.
Hit in the air to deep right center field. Beltran back for a look, but that ball is out of here. Nate Scherholtz with his 2nd home run of the year, and the Giants go back in front 6-5. The 3rd home run given up by R.A. Dickey this season, and it puts the Giants back up by a run.
Well, he's got the knuckleball grip, but too many times the ball has stayed real true for R.A. Dickey tonight.
Ronnie, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that R.A. is throwing where last year he threw the hard one and he always placed it on the inside corner.
Yeah,
he's missing over the middle. It's almost like, at least tonight, I've noticed, throwing too many of the hard ones.
I think what happened for R.A., and I guess it's all about feel, but last year when we were watching him, didn't we always say to each other, boy, it almost looks like a hard slider he's throwing, because it's always going down and in, or down away from the righty, down and into the lefty. I've not seen that as much this season.
Well, he's fooled around a lot more, and he did in spring training, especially with that slower knuckleball, and I wonder whether he's more conscious of changing speed.
No, I would personally. I don't think a knuckleball pitcher has to change speeds. If you've got a good one and it's moving, you stay with that until it leaves you.
Three and 1 to Cody Ross.
You know, guys, the interesting thing here is that after R.A.'s last start in Washington, post-game comments, he said, you know what, I'm getting there. I feel like I'm just a shade off. I mean, he felt like that was his best knuckleball, and he felt like, you know, all the stuff he's gone through this year with the nail, he felt like the feel had kind of come back. So until today, I guess.
And a 3-2 fastball popped up to shallow left, and Hairston hurries in. 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Michael Morse finding the elixir that is Citizens Bank Park.
He's been waiting for that hit since spring training.
9 home runs in the spring. I think that's what his 2nd of the year, and that's a can of corn in Nationals Park. Emmanuel Burris drove in a run with a comebacker in the 4th inning. Also had the first Giants hit tonight, so he's 1 for 2.
Now I know this is a hard game to play mentally. See runs were on deck. The pitcher who came in, left-hander who came in. But if you think about it in a strange way, when you're a knuckleballer who can throw tons of pitches, you're losing 1-0, right? I mean, as far as the games you can play with yourself, just thinking about the things that you can do, and hopefully RA can do that here.
Hairston with all 3 putouts in the inning, but in between, Nate Scherholtz hit one where nobody can catch it except the guys in the bullpen. Scherholtz is second of the year, and the Giants go up 6-5 in the middle of the 6th. Nice shot of Times Square and a lovely evening in New York. Look at those lights. What are they paying electric bills?
Ugh.
All that neon.
Get them on wind.
Jason Friday.
All those tall buildings, put those things up on top of the building.
That's a great idea. Instead of putting them out
in the Hudson, it would look awful.
Justin Turner out on deck to bat for R.A. Dickey. And Friday takes one the other way toward the left field line. Ross racing over, slides and can't get it. It's a fair ball, and it goes out of play for a ground rule double for Jason Friday.
No, he didn't get there, and Ross with the calf injury earlier in the year.
He was trying to time it, but that's such a difficult catch with no room for the outfielder to go.
So the tying run at second with nobody out. Justin Turner to bat for Dickey. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, good thing that Friday has a base hit to take home. Some guys after the game, they like to leave it at the ballpark. Well, Jason will go home and talk hitting with his girlfriend, Brianka. She broke the single season RBI record at Arizona State. So she's got something to talk about. He said, she's tough. I'll go home and I'll be down on myself if an over. She's like, come on, change it, do something about it. So he can go home hopefully with some positive individual thoughts tonight.
So Dylan G getting ready in the bullpen. Turner batting for Dickey. Tying run at second, and he fouls the fastball foul.
Now that softball is a hard pitch softball. That's little league distance, right?
Is it 46 feet?
A little bit longer, a little bit further. 1 foot longer. It's 45 feet, right, for little leaguer?
Speaking of softball players, how about Buster Posey's sister at Valdosta State?
That's right.
She had that doubleheader the other day. She had a solo, 2-run, 3-run homer, and a grand slam.
Cycle.
Wow. And, in softball, it's hard to hit.
No one hits home runs. Yeah, it's a game of bunts and hit and runs and steals and pitching mostly.
Fast pitch softball is no easy chore. I was watching the college game. Gosh, I think Saturday night. As I was having dinner, it was Texas and Oklahoma, and this one girl for Oklahoma was throwing bullets.
Yeah,
bullets, and she had an off-speed pitch. Should have got me out.
Wow, that's high praise right there. You talking about now or then?
Well, in my prime. I mean, that's you got no time to think.
0-2 to Turner, up and in. Ever face Eddie Feiner? King in his court.
I watched him pitch many times. They also had the Queen in her court, which was a group, and I picked a pitcher for that foursome was unbelievable. Although they played, their shortstop was a man in drag.
Really?
Yes.
Here's the 1-2. Again in tight. Turner spins 2-2. But I saw the King in his court go out there. What, they played 4 guys against 9.
That's right.
Each every time. He pitched from second base and strike out.
Well, that's interesting to see. Posey close his eyes and kind of turn his head as that ball came inside.
So Turner's gotten himself back to 2-2. And he hits one out to right field. That should move Friday over. Scherholtz is under it. Friday tags and heads. Scherholtz has a strong arm, but the throw off line, and Friday's now at third with 1 out. So a productive out for Justin Turner moves the tying run to third. And so Reyes with a chance to get him in. Reyes has been aboard 3 times already tonight, a double and 2 walks. Guillermo Mota, the former Met, up in the bullpen.
Looks like the infield is going to be in for Bruce Bochy's team.
Well, when's the last time the Mets tried to squeeze bunt?
Won't be here. Be shocked.
Reyes hitting .276 from the right side, a little lower than his left-handed average this year. And he takes a fastball for a strike. His numbers, ugliness. Doesn't need a hit here to get the tying run home though. Murphy on deck. Runsler's ahead of him 0-2.
That's what I was talking about, but with Jose, he took the first pitch, was a really good fastball, but now that pitch elevated out of the strike zone. And I know it's 95 plus. Very easy up here to talk about it, but that's a pitch that he's got to lay off in an RBI situation.
A pitch he would normally take, but he seems to get a little anxious in these spots. Friday at third and 1 out, and Reyes takes one just out of the strike zone, 1-2.
Well, Reyes is kind of a funny hitter. I like the way he hits right-handed. He's more natural swing right-handed than left. But he does step in the bucket. He's a little unorthodox in that regard, but he keeps his hands back. So you watch his stride. He's already open in his stance here. And maybe we can take a look at that swing again.
That was a better swing, though.
But watch his stride. He doesn't stride in.
And his right foot's coming off the ground.
Yes, he does that a lot.
How do you produce any power?
Well, he does. He's got more power from the right side, I think, than the left. He's a more of a middle-in hitter, right-handed.
Whoa. He has to move his feet, so Runsler effectively pitching inside of this inning.
Wow.
Two and 2 to Reyes. And Jose bloops one into shallow center, and that'll tie up the ball game. A broken bat hit for Jose Reyes. Chases home Friday, and it's 6-6 in the 6th. Like a lawn dart.
Well, he didn't want to stay with that gas, Keith. He decided to go with the slider.
And right down the middle. Right down the middle. Just breaks his bat.
Sometimes you double think as a pitcher. Look at that reaction by Runsler, because if you are going to throw that pitch, that's a good choice. Wrong execution. You know what you do with that pitch? You bounce it. You bounce it, he's going to swing over the top of it.
Getty out for a conversation after seeing that reaction. What he doesn't want is for Runsler to forget about Reyes at first. He's now the go-ahead run. Reyes has now been on base 4 straight times. He's already stolen the base tonight. Murphy is 0 for 2 and a walk. Lined out to right his last time up. 6-6, bottom of the 6th in this seesaw affair. And it's off the plate to Murphy, 1-0.
Runsler is going to be tough, difficult to steal on. It's a little bit like Jonathan Neese. He has a kind of a slide step to home.
Reyes stole his 11th base in the 4th inning. And it's outside to Murphy, 2-0.
Interesting defense setup on Murph, and Murph goes the other way so well. This shortstop right here, I would not be playing Murph up the middle. I would take this away from him.
Look how shallow Ross is playing in left field. Slow ground ball near the bag. Burris with the flip, and Fontenot turns the double play. 4-6-3 gets Runsler through the inning, but the Mets get even on Reyes' RBI hit. It's 6-6 after 6. Giants won the World Series for the first time since they played in New York, and in January, none other than Willie Mays brought the World Series trophy to visit New York at the side of the old Polo Grounds. Willie's going to turn 80 years of age this weekend.
Friday.
Friday, right?
Yeah.
80. Willie Mays.
No insult to anybody. I saw a lot of great players, but the greatest player I ever saw. And I didn't see Joe DiMaggio. I didn't see Babe Ruth. Just what I saw, what a great player.
Second relief outing for Dylan G. He got pummeled in his first one. Gave up the grand slam to Ryan Howard in the 10-3 loss to the Phillies on Friday night. Comes in here to face the pinch hitter Ryan Rollinger. Rollinger called up when Pablo Sandoval went on the disabled list. Sandoval had surgery today to remove the hamate bone in his hand, which was broken the other day.
6 to 8 weeks about for that injury.
He had lost 40 pounds, was hitting the ball over 300.
I mean, that's terrible for Sandoval and for the Giants, because he had done so much work to resurrect himself after a dreadful 2010. And Rollinger bounces one foul, 2-2. I mean, think about last year with the Giants. I know we talked about it before, how many role players they had in big roles, but Sandoval, who was supposed to be their best young player, was not in the mix. Rowan, who was probably their highest paid position player, wasn't really in the mix. And yet they were able to accomplish what they did.
Well, Uribe had a career year.
Swing and a miss, and G has a strikeout. Rollinger down, one away.
Nice curveball here by G. I'll take that back. That's the changeup that he features against right-handers and left-handers.
So one away now. Rowan, who's 1 for 3, singled home a run in the 3rd and then scored one himself. The Giants got 4 off R.A. Dickey in the 3rd to take a lead, and then 1 more in the 4th to tie up the game. Then they took the lead again in the 6th on the Shearholtz home run before the Mets tied in the bottom of the 6th. Jeremy Affeldt, one of 3 lefties in the Giants bullpen, is up.
Hey, Ronnie, I mentioned this on Friday night in Philly, but Terry Collins, when talking about G, thought that the biggest thing for him coming out of the pen was not rushing, and that as a starter you take your time, you warm up. Coming out of the pen, you kind of got to hurry up quickly and get in there. And Terry said once you get in there, you need to ramp it back down to kind of meet your style. As Rowan will send one to Reyes here, but I'm curious. G came in the middle of the inning the other night. Here, starting an inning, does that change that effect? Do you think for him?
I think it makes it so much easier, Kevin. Although when he came in, he stranded 2 of the runners that Pelfrey had left on base, so he did a nice job then. But coming back out for that 2nd inning is the inning that he struggled. You talked about giving up that grand slam. This is much more natural for him. He warms up. He had plenty of time. He's coming out. He's starting from the windup, not the stretch. So, yeah, much easier to have his form.
Remember that 2nd inning of work in Philadelphia? It was the 2 walks and the hit by pitch that got him in trouble before Howard's grand slam, which was on not all that bad a pitch. It was one of those Citizens Bank Park home runs that Ryan Howard can muscle out.
But it was the 6th fastball in a row. He never decided to use that good change of his, and he got some swing and misses on that fastball. Felt confident enough he could do it one more time, and Ryan Howard let him know.
Tejada takes the curveball for a strike, and it's 1-2.
Nice curve. We've seen that from G.
Tejada 0 for 3 tonight, 3 ground ball outs. Mike Fontenot would be next. 1-2. Smacked to short and grabbed by Reyes to end the inning. So the Giants go out 1-2-3 in the top of the 7th before Dylan G. And it's 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field. We're tied at 6. It's a special night here at Citi Field with all the military in the building. Let's join.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Remove your hats and direct your attention to the area behind home plate for the singing of God Bless America. Please welcome United States Marine Corps Veteran Sergeant Elizabeth Quinones as we honor all the heroic men and women who keep our beautiful nation safe and free.
God bless America. Land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairie to the ocean. One with a foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Elizabeth Quinones.
The veteran left-hander Jeremy Affeldt comes on to pitch for the Giants in the 7th.
Well, Affeldt was supposed to be a big star in Kansas City. Did not work out that way, but he's found a nice home here in San Francisco. 53 games last season, 74 the year before.
He's been part of a couple of World Series teams the last few years. Big part of that Rockies run in 07 and then with the Giants last year. David Wright 0 for 2 and a walk.
Good cut.
And Affeldt gets ahead of him 0-2. Jason Isringhausen up in the bullpen for New York. And a rough go of it Sunday night in Philadelphia. Did you watch Izzy that night, Ronnie? Did you see his performance?
I did see it. He looked totally out of sorts. I thought in the beginning that he was hurt and that he was going to come out of the ball game, but he stayed out there. I just think that you get to a certain age, Gary, and sometimes you warm up and you come out and it just does not translate. Just do not have it.
Off the plate to right, and it's 2-2. By the way, a scoring change. Go back to the 4th inning when Cody Ross hit a ground ball and David Wright ate it. They've changed that to a base hit. Let's see those numbers on Izzy.
I don't understand, because it's a ground ball and he's thrown out. It's a routine.
Well, the thing is, he made no choice, so it can't be a fielder's choice, and the rule book says you can't charge an error for slow play, but they didn't charge an error, so I don't know.
That's
obviously the Giants must have argued for it.
That's what I was thinking, and Cody Ross owes Sherholtz a dinner or lunch or something.
3-2 now to Wright after Affeldt got ahead of him, and he reaches for one and breaks his bat. Get to Citi Field as the series with the Giants continues tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. with Cy Young Award winner Tim Lincecum on the mound for the Giants. Tickets start at $10. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Multiple Cy Young Award winner. And his hair is longer than ever.
You know, you can go in San Francisco to some of the barbershops, the kids, the skateboarders, and the surfers, and they can go and say, I want a Lincecum.
Did you see Brian Wilson without his hat earlier today?
Yeah, I did. He is Mohawk City.
To go with that beard.
Long mohawk. It's an Elvis mohawk.
Fontenot throws out right one away.
It's an Elvis mohawk. I mean, it's not, folks, it's not like the bristles.
Oh, it's like a
it's long like a pompadour. I've never seen an Elvis pomp.
Nice.
An Elvis mohawk.
We're just jealous because we can't do it.
Mike Fontenot just threw out David Wright. Played with Wilson at LSU. I think Fontenot was a junior when Wilson was a freshman. And he said Wilson didn't have the beard then, but he showed up with his hair dyed red. So this, you know, this sartorial splendor goes back a long way.
Well, Wilson got Ronnie and my attention. Was it last year, Ronnie, when he blew the first game of the series here in New York? And then he came out the next day, and that getaway day.
They had to have that game.
He struck out the side in 9 pitches. Remember that?
So impressed. He just his body language read, this game is over.
It was amazing performance.
Carlos Beltran with a 3-run homer and a double tonight, 2 for 3, and he fouls it off.
See from Affeldt there, he got 90-95 on his fastball. Good curveball against the left-handers, and against the right-hander, his equalizer, which you don't see very often, is that left-handed split.
Throws it 90 miles an hour. Yeah. 0-2 to Carlos. And he takes it off the plate, 1-2.
When I think of a left-handed split from our day, Keith, Chuck Finley always comes to mind. That was his pitch.
Ike Davis on deck. Ike is homered tonight, but struggled against the lefty in the 5th, and he's about to face another one. Interesting to see Ike's approach this coming at bat.
There
he is.
Now tell me that's not Elvis.
That's a good call.
Thank you very much.
Elvis never had the bottom half, though. Beltran takes the curveball in the dirt, and it's 2-2.
The 4-1 in Philly, and that's Hamels going for his 4th win. Yeah, I think he's 3-1. You're right.
Yeah, but he's nothing as a pinch hitter. Now the 2-2, and Beltran takes low, so he's worked himself back from 0-2 to 3-2. You see that score in Philadelphia. Michael Morris with a home run for the only Washington run. Levon Hernandez started that game for the Nats, and Hamels still in there. 3-2 to Beltran, and Carlos wastes another one. Quite a turn at bat for Beltran. Understand why Carlos wants to stay in the lineup. He is swinging the bat so well. This will be the 9th pitch of the at bat from Affeldt to Beltran, and Carlos fouls another one. Who was up earlier gets back up in the Giants bullpen. Dylan G, after a successful 7th inning, getting ready to pitch the 8th. Again the 3-2, and Beltran pulls it foul. This is turning into an epic. Beltran has faced Affeldt 7 times, has just 1 hit in those 7 at bats against him. But he's seen everything he can throw during this turn at bat. With the 11th pitch upcoming. And he pulls one just foul.
Oh, nice play by the ball boy down there. Tough chance. Had to play the carom.
Travis right on top of things. So the 12th pitch of the at bat upcoming.
Fastball away.
And Beltran pops it up. Playable for Tejada. And Affeldt wins the battle 12 pitches deep for the 2nd out. Here's your key around the majors for tonight. Yankees trailing in Detroit against the Tigers have lost 7 in a row as Brad Penny trying to snap that losing streak. B.J. Upton wins it in the bottom of the 9th for Tampa Bay with his 4th home run of the year as they beat the Blue Jays 3-2. And the Red Sox getting great pitching from John Lester tonight ahead of the Angels 5-1.
They own the Angels, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Well, they beat Jared Weaver last night. Nobody else had done that before.
That was a quick game in Tampa Bay, wasn't it?
They started a half hour.
Did they? Okay.
Now here's Ike Davis, and he takes a first pitch strike, 0-1.
Let's focus and see how Davis is pitched to by the left-hander. We talked about the breaking stuff Ike's been getting a steady diet of. Let him off with one.
That curveball down 1-1. Well, he got 4 straight sliders the last at bat from Runzler and struck out.
Look at a breaking ball, though. If you hang it to Ike inside, oh, they're going to try to come inside on it.
Better go upstairs with it. There you did. That's a good pitch right there. And if Ike doesn't swing, okay, it's 2-1, but you got a good. That's a good message pitch. Tied him up and in. Can't live on that outside corner, RJ, you know? Oh, doubling up.
Sometimes you have a bats keep where you feel like you're on a seesaw, don't you? You're just in between. What are they going to throw? They've established inside twice in a row.
Coming with the split on 2-2. And a check swing foul.
Jeez, it almost got his hands. Well, what are you looking at? It's part of the game. Let's go.
2-2 to Davis, and he fouls it away. This is the third batter of the inning, and Affeld's already thrown 25 pitches.
Yeah.
The long at bats. Wright went to 3-2. Beltran went to 3-2. Now Davis 2-2. Hairston would be next. What do you call for if you're Buster Posey?
Bad
Curveball.
curveball. No, change up again.
I don't like this call.
And now it's a full count to Davis. So 3 straight full counts against the heart of the Mets batting order here in the 7th. Affeldt survived the first 2.
You think anytime the manager's there with the pitching coach and saying, "Hey, Rags, what is he doing out there?
There you go.
When's he going to throw a curveball?"
8th pitch of the at bat to Davis, and he walked him. So the Mets have a 2-out base runner. And with the right-hand hitter Scott Hairston coming up, let's see what Bruce Bochy has in mind. 27 pitches to 3 batters from Jeremy Affeldt, and Bochy's on his way out to the mound. It looks like he'll bring in the right-hander to face Hairston. So Guillermo Mota will be coming in. You got Willie Harris left in the Mets dugout. In all probability, Terry Collins will send him up to bat for Hairston. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln. 6-6 in the bottom of the 7th. The moves are being made. We'll be right back. Breakdown of tonight's Mets-Giants matchup, plus all the latest team news and rumors on Mets Blog, presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home for all things New York sports.
We're on that, aren't we?
Yeah, we much booed Guillermo Mota comes on.
I know, he was really booed coming in. Not well liked. The fans here still remember the playoffs in '06
and the subsequent suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. Willie Harris will bat for Scott Hairston. 6-6 game in the bottom of the 7th. Go ahead run at first with 2 out, and Harris takes ball 1. Willie is 0 for 9 as a pinch hitter this year. In fact, the 3 H's, Hairston, Harris, and Who, combined 1 for 25 pinch hitting this year. Josh Tolley would be next. Davis, without a whole lot of speed at first, represented the go-ahead run. And Harris bounces one toward the hole. Huff smothers it and makes the play to Mota to retire the side. A full body smother by Aubrey Huff. We've played 7. It's a 6-6 tie. Willie Harris stays in the game to play left field for New York as we go to the 8th inning in a 6-6 game. Dylan G begins his 2nd inning of work against 3, 4, and 5 in the Giants batting order. Fontenot, Posey, and Huff. Fontenot had a big hit in the 3rd inning against R.A. Dickey, a 2-run single to put the Giants in front 4-3 at the time. Mets led 3-0 after Beltran's homer in the 1st. The Giants got the 4 runs in the 3rd. Davis's 2-run homer in the bottom of the 3rd put the Mets up by a run. But the Giants tied it in the 4th and then went ahead in the 6th on Nate Schierholtz's home run. And the Mets tied it in the bottom of the 6th on Reyes's broken bat hit. Posey and Huff to follow here in the 8th. Upstairs to Fontenot, 1-2. R.A. Dickey went 6 innings, allowed 6 runs, 7 hits, walked 1, struck out 1, a wild pitch and a home run. A no decision game for Dickey tonight. And a swing and a miss, and Dylan G strikes out Fontenot for the 1st out. 2nd strikeout for G. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, Chris. Now Buster Posey takes a strike. Posey 0 for 3 tonight. All of that against R.A. Dickey. 2 ground outs and a strikeout. And it misses outside, a ball and a strike. Gerald Dempsey Posey the third. The third. His father was known as Demp.
Demper.
Off the plate, it's 2-1. So naturally, Gerald Dempsey Posey the third is Buster. Pulls one to the hole and a base hit for Posey. And the Giants have a 1-out base runner in the 8th. Let's check out our Toyota Text Poll results. We asked you whether Buster Posey should have outstripped Jason Hayward for the Rookie of the Year, and overwhelmingly you say that he should have.
I'm in that 17%.
You say Hayward.
Yep. He was there longer.
There were so many good candidates.
Oh, there was. It was. I'm with Posey. He played a more demanding position. He changed that team, made it better. Let's say he was the most valuable Rookie of the Year.
Well, without Posey, the Giants don't come close to the World Series. Those are the raw numbers. Hayward, of course, played more games. Posey didn't come up till the 29th of May last year.
Same home runs, almost the same RBIs.
And he's a catcher.
And a close call, too.
Yep.
I mean, the guy who was up all year and had the best season, as that one gets past Tolley, and Posey goes to second. So a wild pitch moves Posey into scoring position.
You know, this is another one, though, that has to be avoided. And it has to be avoided because he didn't turn the glove over quick enough. And also, he's got to move his body.
No footwork.
He's got to slide.
No footwork to get in front. He's struggling back there.
So a base hit could give the Giants another lead. Huff is 0 for 3 tonight. G behind him 2-0. And he lays off, and it's 3-0. And Schierholtz, who homered his last time up, is on deck. I was going to say the guy who played the full season, who probably had the best year, was Gabby Sanchez.
Yeah. You know what I think is happening to Josh, and I'll ask him tomorrow if he's open to it. Maybe he won't feel like it, but
swinging 3-0, and Huff pops it up. There's a huge break for Dylan G as Daniel Murphy circles under it, and that's the second out. So Huff turned loose on 3-0, and G gets himself a king-sized out.
It's a good call by the manager. I think let Huff swing 3-0, but he just went after a bad pitch.
I don't know if it's as bad a pitch. It's just maybe a little up.
Well, the guy on deck had hit 2 bullets the last 2 times up.
He went middle in. That's a good pitch to hit. That's a good pitch to hit. He had a rip.
Ball ran a little away from him. You know, I was saying about Josh as Dan Warthen is coming out. You know, he catches R.A. Dickey so much, and you can develop some bad habits, because when you catch an R.A. Dickey, you have to turn your body and you have to snatch at the ball. You don't block the ball. So I think what happens is that you can get into the bad habit when a traditional pitcher comes in, fastball, slider, changeup, you start to snatch at the ball again instead of moving your feet. And that is going to have to be something he works on.
2 out, left-hand hitter at the plate, right-hand hitter Cody Ross on deck, and the Mets are going to walk Schierholtz intentionally. Schierholtz hit a bullet for a base hit past Reyes in the 4th, and then homered to put the Giants in front of the 6th, so the Mets aren't going to mess with him here. They'll go after Ross instead. Javier Lopez up in the Giants bullpen. Jason Isringhausen getting ready for the Mets, and so Ross, who seemed to come through in every clutch situation down the stretch and in the postseason for the Giants last year, but is off to a struggling start this season, will get the call here with 2 out and 2 on.
Ross has always been a streaky hitter. He's a guest hitter. He can go the other way. He likes to look. When he's red hot, you can't get him out, and when he's cold, he couldn't hit water if he thought of a boat.
He killed the Mets last year. He hit over 400 against them, a couple of home runs. First started this year with the Marlins and then finished it up with the Giants after they got him on waivers. And that's going to be all for G, and Jason Isringhausen will be called upon to get Cody Ross. So G will leave after an inning and 2/3, and Izzy will come on to try and keep this game tied. He had the top of the 8th with the Giants threatening. Tied 6-6. We'll be right back.
His last outing in Philadelphia, a couple of walks, gave up a run in 2/3 of an inning.
It's the inside corner to Cody Ross, and he's ahead. Ross has walked and had an infield hit. 1 for 2. He scored a run. Posey the tie-breaking run at second, and Schierholtz at first with 2 down. 6-6 in the top of the 8th. And Izzy misses high and away. 1-1.
That good cutter by Izzy. The one thing you have to look out for with Ross in RBI situations late, he loves to go to right field. Beltran's going to have to be ready. Posey does not have great speed.
Beltran takes about a half a step in, which you like to see. Up and in. It's 2-1 to Ross.
Wow.
Well, when you have a great pitching staff, you don't have to score a lot of runs. Whereas they started a 5th or 6th starter type tonight in Ryan Vogelsong. and trying to win with offense, something they've rarely done lately. And it gets behind Tolle again, but the runners this time will have to hold it. This is becoming very troublesome with Josh Tolle.
Oh, it's a little cutter away, and in fact, the most disturbing part about that is, yes, it hits leather. He closed the glove too early. That's a pitch that could have been called a strike with the proper framing of that pitch. Changed the whole at bat.
3-1 now to Ross with 2 aboard and 2 out, and it's on the outside corner. 3-2.
Good pitch, 3-1 right here. A little cutter.
That's perfect.
Right.
Pitch.
That is a pitcher's pitch, 3-1.
Well,
yeah.
Just caught the front edge of that blade.
One to take, unless you're looking out there.
So now the runners will be on their way with 3-2 and 2 out. Posey and Sherholtz run, and Ross skims one down to first base. Ike Davis has got it, and Izzy gets over to cover, side retired. Nicely done by Jason Isringhausen, getting G out of a jam in the 8th. We're still tied at 6. The well-bedecked Pat Cauley of Glendale. Contact Pat's office at patcauley.org. It's everywhere, Pat.
Well, he was at that is a fantasy camp, they call it, down there in Florida, where they go and they play against all the Met ex-players.
He was down the opening weekend series in Florida.
Didn't even make the interstate, Keith.
He was very generous.
I want to know, in fantasy camp, was Pat able to stay out of the trainer's room?
He was able to stay out of the trainer's room, but talking about his batting average, maybe he should have went in there a little more.
Well, Josh Tolle has had trouble catching the ball, has 2 hits in 3 at-bats at the plate tonight. 6-6, bottom of the 8th. Guillermo Mota got the final out in the 7th. He stays on for the 8th to face Tolle, Pridey in the pitcher's spot. And Josh takes the first pitch changeup for ball 1. Mets have only 2 players left on their bench, Chin Lung Hu and Ronnie Paulino, as prospective pinch hitters in this inning. And Tolle pulls one toward the hole, and he has his 3rd hit of the night. A rough night behind the plate for Josh, but a good night at the plate. And the Mets have the go-ahead run at first with nobody out as Javier Lopez gets up again to the Giants bullpen. Jason Pridey up lefty against righty. So we'll see if the Mets decide to bunt here. Ronnie Paulino, the hero of Sunday night's 14-inning win, comes out on deck to pinch hit.
This is why I like to have one more player on the bench and one less pitcher out in that bullpen.
Yeah.
Friday hit a fly ball double down the left field line and scored the tying run in the 6th. And he's up there to bunt and drops down a beauty. Tejada has to hurry and just gets Friday at first. So 5-4 on the sacrifice, and the Mets have the go-ahead run in scoring position with 1 out.
Well, beautiful bunt by Friday, who just continues to do everything, the little things. Plays good defense whenever he's asked to do. Puts the bunt down. Nice job.
So now Polino will come up to pinch hit. Interesting call here for Terry Collins. Polino's in the game now. You could have Who come in to run for Tolley, carrying the go-ahead run at second base, but he's choosing not to do that.
You have no bench. No, but then did you empty your bench? The game goes extra innings.
But you're at the pitcher spot now, so it's not going to come up for another couple of innings.
Well, you got to have something on the bench.
So he'll save Who.
Problem if you run Who, he's got to go into the game because he is the 3rd catcher if there was an injury to Paulino.
So here's Polino, who had quite a first start as a Met Sunday night, had 5 hits, including the game winner in the 14th inning. And he takes a strike from Mota.
That'll do it. Off Kyle Kendrick. Welcome to New York.
First player to get 5 hits in his first start for a team since 1960. Chases a pitch out of the strike zone, and it's 0-2. Polino's off-delayed season certainly got off with a bang Sunday night.
I always think of Paulino as a middle of the plate in kind of hitter. I think that's why he dominates left-handed pitching.
Now Mota ahead 0-2, and he misses low and away. Polino had visa problems, suspension problems, illness problems, an oblique problem before finally getting back to the Mets last weekend. 2-2.
Cody Ross in left field has pitched in the major league game. A fantastic arm. Aaron Rowland in center. Very, very good arm. But John Scherholz is playing, not John Scherholz, Nate Scherholz is playing right field, has the best arm of all the outfielders and playing extremely shallow against Paulino.
Polino hits a lot of balls to right field. Trying to get Tolley home from second base with the go-ahead run. It's 2-2.
Good eye.
He lays off on a full count. How many times tonight have we seen Met hitters in a 2-strike hole work their way back full?
There you go with your outfielders. Ross on the left, great arm. Rowan, good arm. And Scherholz has a cannon.
8th full count for Met hitters tonight. It's 3-2 to Polino. Reyes is on deck. Slow ground ball. Tolley has to hold. And Fontenot throws out Polino for the second out. So it's left to Reyes, who had gone an eternity without getting a hit with a runner in scoring position until he delivered a broken bat single to drive in the tying run in the 6th. And now looking to get the go-ahead run home in the 8th. Jose's been on base 4 straight times tonight. A single, a double, 2 walks, a stolen base, a run scored, and an RBI. So a full night for Reyes, who has his average up to 320 on the year. Now if you're Bruce Bochy, you can walk Reyes and bring in the lefty to face Murphy. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. They've had Javier Lopez ready in the bullpen, so rather than mess around with Reyes, they'll walk him. It'll be the 3rd walk that Jose has drawn tonight. And he'll be on base for the 5th straight time.
And Bochy knows that he's not going to pinch hit for Murphy with Ching-Won Hu.
No.
There's a reason that Bochy's been managing for 17 years in a row and counting. He knows what he's doing. He's managed a pretty fine game today. Got Vogelsong out of the game when the Giants were going against the tough left-handed hitters for the Mets. He's going to make a double switch here. Get Mota out of the game. Bring Javi Lopez in.
So Lopez will come on to pitch for the Giants in a 6-6 game in the 8th. Tomorrow at 6:30 only on SNY. And there are your probables for the remainder of the series. Capuano gets the tough matchup tomorrow night, and then Thursday afternoon Mike Pelfrey tries to get back on the beam against Jonathan Sanchez. Changes for the Giants. Aaron Rowan moves from center field to left field. Darren Ford comes into play center. The speedster will bat 9th. And pitching and batting 7th is the veteran left-hander Javier Lopez.
We had some nice years in the Boston Red Sox organization. He throws little 3/4, makes him tough on lefties, has every pitch you could imagine. Sinker, slider, changeup, curve, slurve, slider.
Tolley the go-ahead run at second. Reyes at first with 2 down. Murphy is 0 for 3 and a walk tonight. And Murph takes the slider low and away for ball 1.
He's a slinger out here, isn't he, Lopez? Those are almost Laredo.
Now, this will be his only batter because if Murph gets on, they'll bring in a right-hander to face David Wright. So Bruce Bochy has 3 lefties in his bullpen. He's now used them all. Runzler, Affelt, and now Lopez. And Murphy bangs one off his leg, a foul ball. 1-1. Mets are 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position tonight. After going, 1 for 16 on Sunday night? Sergio Romo now up in the bullpen. No matter how well he grows that beard, he can't possibly match Brian Wilson. See, Murph's had only 10 bats against lefties so far this year. Making a bid for more playing time against left-handers. He can put in a grace note here.
They're not holding Josh at second very well. He's got to make sure he gets a real good secondary lead.
Good breaking ball by Lopez to get ahead on Murphy, 1-2.
And Murph didn't pick this one up. He's kind of flailing at that one.
What's this tell you, Keith? So we see Frankie Rodriguez up. That Lopez is going to feature stuff away against Murphy. He hasn't thrown in yet.
Two on, 2 out, 1-2 to Murphy. And he missed with it, 2-2. This has got to be the pitch of decision for Lopez.
Well, I think if you're Lopez, his best pitch is his slider against the lefties. You're throwing it twice there, Gary. 2-2, you're throwing it, and if it doesn't work, you're throwing it 3-2 also.
2-2 to Murphy, and he fouls it back.
That was a pitch to hit there. That breaking ball stayed right in the inner part. Oh, pitch to hit. Rule out in front.
Bruce Bochy's run through 5 pitches tonight. Lopez trying to keep it tied in the 8th. On 2-2, Murphy swings and fouls it back.
Murph kind of sports that Walt Hereniak swing against left-handers, doesn't he?
The helicopter.
What's the follow through? Reminds me of Rich Gedman. Don't tilt your eyes, Murph. Keep your eyes parallel to the ground.
7th pitch of the at-bat to Murphy. Chops one toward third. In comes Tejada and makes the running toss in time to end the inning. Mets get 2 aboard, but strand them, and we head to the 9th at Citi Field. Mets and Giants tied up. Liriano, so we'll keep an eye on that as K-Rod comes on to pitch the 9th here.
See K-Rod's numbers so far. It was interesting. I was reading an article about K-Rod, and he said that he just felt like spring training he was on top of his game. In April he just couldn't find it, although only blew 1 save opportunity.
Numbers are certainly very good for Francisco Rodriguez, using all 3 of his pitches effectively. Pitched an inning and a third Sunday night. Odd that Terry Collins brought him into a tie game in the 8th on the road on Sunday night. Not conventional use at all. But he got out of the 8th and pitched a scoreless 9th around a couple of hits.
Occasionally Terry has managed some of these games that the Mets have to win kind of games.
You're right.
Different, you know, just different.
Yep.
1-1 to Burris, who shoots 1 foul. The first 2 hitters up for the Giants here in the 9th are very, very fast. First Burris and then Darren Ford on deck. Either one of them could steal a base if they get on. Giants 6 runs, 8 hits. Mets 6 run, 9 hits. Rowan with a bat is up third in the inning. Miguel Tejada behind him. Now the 1-2 to Burris. And a little tapper in front of the plate. Tolley's got to go out to get it, and he and K-Rod don't communicate, and Burris is aboard.
Well, neither of these guys are going to make the play. 2 reasons. Frankie Rodriguez falls off to first base. No chance for him to get over that third base line. And the ball was hit too far out for Josh to get it. See where he falls? He almost has to go all the way around, and then it's too far for Josh to get that play.
And Burris is so fast, there's no way they were going to throw him out. So it is set up for the Giants here in the top of the 9th. Darren Ford is coming up for the first time. Ford recently picked up his first big league hit. That was Saturday, but the Mets will look for the stolen base or the bunt here, with Ford at the plate and Burris at first. And there goes Burris. Tolley's throw to second, not in time, and Burris steals the base. First stolen base of the year for Burris, who had 15 in the minors this year.
Well, this was by design, obviously. Here they are taking advantage of Josh's struggles and the speed on the bases. Now you bunt him to third base.
You know, I'm not going to blame Josh on that. And the reason I say that, in that situation, you're a veteran closer. You have to throw the ball over the first base one time.
And it's surprising that Wright is not playing a little more aggressively in. This is an obvious bunt situation here.
And Tolley has to backhand that ball just not to knock it down and keep Burris from going to third.
Now you can see the Mets are not running the wheel on this play. Why? Tons of speed by Burris, as you see Wilson in the bullpen. Tons of speed, maybe as much speed as Reyes getting to third. And then secondly, it's a tag play, not a force play. Much more difficult.
1-1 to Ford, who's been used primarily as a pinch runner and defensive replacement in his brief major league career. Bunts one, deadens it. Wright will have a tough play, and at first base it's dropped, and everybody's safe. Probably was going to beat it out anyway, but Murph didn't catch the throw. And now the Giants have first and third and nobody out. A beautiful bunt by Darren Ford.
Absolutely perfect. And had backspin on it, and that made the ball really kind of slow down when it hit the grass. And I mentioned earlier that Wright wasn't in aggressively at third base in an obvious bunt situation.
Well, they always talk about Ford. If he didn't play baseball, he would have been a running back in the NFL. That's how fast he is, and perfect bunt. And you got to really try to take that away, and it wasn't taken away.
He'll get credit for a base hit. Now first and third and nobody out. The Mets have to bring the infield in for Aaron Rowan, who's 1 for 4, drove in a run with a third inning single. 6-6 top of the 9th. And Rowan skies one down the right side. Tagging at third is Burris as Ike goes after the foul ball, makes the catch, and Burris fakes down the line as Ike fires home. Ford goes to second base. Good base running by the Giants. Ford alert to the fact that Ike was going to have to throw that ball home, tagged at first and took second.
Well, Ike's back is to the play. He has no choice but to come up throwing. He has no chance. He has no chance to look and see if the runner is going to try to score. And nice heads-up base running by the back runner, Mr. Ford.
First base is open, but you have a left-hand hitter in Fontenot on deck, so they'll pitch to Tejada, who's 0 for 4. The infield in. Second and third and 1 out. And it's knocked down by Tolley, 1-0. Tons of speed with Burris at third and Ford at second, so even on a short, wild pitch, the go-ahead run could score. Interesting call here to pitch to the veteran Tejada rather than filling the empty base with Fontenot on deck. Little bloop, and that'll stay on the infield for Murphy. And that's a huge second out. So now K-Rod with a chance to get through the inning if he can get Mike Fontenot. Fontenot tonight 1 for 4, a single to center to drive in a pair against Dickey back in the third.
Well, there was a time in Tejada's career you could have just put that run on the board, couldn't you?
Well, the Mets went after him, and that proved to pay off. Now they'll go after Fontenot. That's a no-brainer with Buster Posey on deck.
Not a good pitch selection. He got jammed there.
Second and third and 2 down. And Fontenot takes it high. Ball 1.
Doesn't it make sense that we looked at Fontenot as the third-place hitter today and said to ourselves, boy, we've never seen him there, and he comes up in the biggest situation for the Giants.
From K-Rod. And that changeup misses. 2-0. Burris and Ford both in scoring position. Both would score easily on a base hit to the outfield. First base is open, but you don't want to get Posey up there with the bases loaded, you wouldn't think. And Fontenot tries to hold and did not go around. Carlson with the call at third. It's 3-0.
Good eye by Fontenot. And this is the game that Frankie plays. He's got that late breaking ball and that sinking change. He likes to get the hitter not to swing a strike.
And the Mets are now going to complete an intentional walk to Fontenot and bring Posey to the plate with the bases loaded.
I do not like this play. I understand the 3-0. The comeback was tough. Buster Posey, we're talking about the rookie of the year last year. Perennial guy. Since he's come to the big leagues, he gets big hits. And then the most important part, it's not like Frankie Rodriguez. He pitches around the perimeter of the strike zone. Cannot make any mistakes now.
Posey 1 for 4 tonight. Grounded a single to left his last time up. Bases loaded, 2 down. Top of the 9th, tie game. K-Rod has pitched himself into a corner. Now faces Posey. And a pop-up. Reyes back, Friday in to call, and Friday puts it away to end the inning. The Giants got the go-ahead run to third with nobody out, but a pop-up to Davis, a pop-up to Murphy, and then K-Rod gets Posey to fly to center, and it's 6-6 going to the bottom of the 9th. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. You can also listen to all Met games on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Night game with the Giants tomorrow, day game Thursday, 3 with the Dodgers over the weekend. Then the Mets go to Colorado and Houston next week. Pat Burrell has come in to play left field for the Giants. As we go to the last of the ninth, Mets have the heart of the batting order up to try and win it. Mets looking for their first walk-off win of the season, with Wright, Beltran, and Davis trying to get it done against the left-hander Javier Lopez. Not often in these situations that you'll see a manager leave a lefty in to face David Wright.
Boy, this is a good matchup for David. We know how he feasts on lefties.
David is 0 for 3 and a walk tonight. He shoots one down the right field line. That's a base hit. Going over to try and cut it off Scherholz. Wright racing for second. Scherholz is thrown, not in time. It's a leadoff double for David Wright.
Nice hitting here, David. Fastball away, all set up at the right field and right into the corner. Beautifully done. Mets are in business. Very nice. Look at that top hand come over.
So now Carlos Beltran with a chance to win it for New York. Carlos already has a 3-run homer and a double tonight, 2 for 4. Each team now with 6 runs and 10 hits. And Carlos takes low and inside for ball 1. Well, if you're Javier Lopez, you're obviously going to pitch very carefully to Beltran with the left-hand hitter Davis on deck. And left-hand hitters behind him and Harris and Tolan.
Outfield.
And they're going to give them an intentional walk now. After throwing ball 1, they're going to walk Beltran on purpose, which makes all the sense.
Yeah, of course. Yes. You got the double play in order. There's a lot of things you can do.
You get Ike the ball on the ground, the double play candidate.
Well, Ike has had 2 at-bats against 2 different lefties tonight. Runsler faced him in the 5th, threw him all sliders and struck him out. Affeldt faced him in the 7th, got ahead of him, but then lost him to a walk.
Is there any part of you, with the way he struggled against lefties, let him lay one down?
You think he knows how to bunt?
No.
That answers your question.
He's a home run hitter. They don't know how to bunt.
Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night. Rex Ryan, the Giants, NBA, all tonight. Geico Sports Night, 10:30, right here on SNY. So here's Ike Davis, first and second, nobody out. Last of the 9th, 6-6. Ike tonight 1 for 3, a 2-run homer back in the 3rd. We've got Tejada shortened up at 3rd, thinking Ike might bunt. Hard to imagine, and he is up there to bunt, and he fouls it off. Wow. No, Ronnie, you called it. Shocking. Francisco Liriano has just completed a no-hitter against the Chicago White Sox. Wow. On the south side of Chicago. A 1-0 no-hitter. 6 walks, 124 pitches, 5th no-hitter in Twins history. Congratulations to another non-Met throwing a no-hitter. Did you have him bunt again?
No.
Ike does not have a sacrifice in his professional career.
And you can see they're in tight, and the outfield, look how shallow the outfield is.
Set to swing, and he pulls one on the ground. Should be 2, but it's booted by Burris and has to take the out at first. And now the potential winning run is at 3rd with 1 out.
What a break for the Metropolitans. This is tailor-made double play.
He tried to turn before he had the baseball. See how he's opening up? Took his eye off the ball. A little tough hop, too. Came up a little bit. I'll have to blame that on the hop.
And we saw something very similar happen to Brad Emus early in the season for the Mets, and it cost them a game. Bruce Bochy's hoping that Burris's miscue there, not scored an error, just a ground out, won't cost him. Willie Harris, the batter, they're going to walk him to fill the empty base and bring up Josh Tolle with a chance to win it. So the 2nd intentional walk of the inning and the 4th of the game issued by the Giants, this time going lefty to lefty, just to set up the 4th.
Tolle has a chance get his 4th hit and maybe a winning hit, walk-off hit.
Well, the last game the Mets played, the catcher had 5 hits, including the game winner. Tonight, the catcher has 3 hits and now a chance for a game winner. The last time the Mets had a walk-off win, it was Josh Thole who provided the winning margin with a home run in the 10th inning back on October the 1st of last year. And there's ball 4 to Harris.
I tell you what, I'd pitch to Harris.
Yeah.
Thole is much more of a contact hitter.
Agreed.
You know, I would take my chances on Harris.
That's a lefty-lefty matchup.
Yep.
So how do you play the infield if you're the Giants? Do you play all the way back, thinking you can turn a double play, or do you play halfway?
You get at the corners, and you got to be halfway up the middle.
Halfway up the middle, and if you have to come in on the baseball, you have to come home for the force.
What do you think this conversation is about?
Well, just be alert. Be alert. You know what the sign is for the suicide squeeze. You know, just be alert for it.
And look at the outfield. Obviously, a very, very in tight. See the infield defense. It's much more critical, the defense in the infield.
Bases loaded, 1 down. Last of the 9th, 6-6. And Thole almost got hit by that. That would have ended the game.
Oh, take one for the team. It's impossible to do, of course.
Last time I can remember the Mets getting a game-ending hit by pitch on their side was Darryl Boston. That's about 20 years ago. 1-0 to Thole. Hit back to the mound. Coming home, Lopez, and Posey with the turn, and we are going to extra innings at Citi Field. The Giants issue 4 intentional walks, and they all work out. 1-2-3 double play gets them out of the 9th. On to extra innings for the 2nd straight game. Game. It's Lincoln Post Game Live. Bobby Ojeda, Chris Carlin will have all the highlights, all the interviews, all the analysis. Lincoln Post Game Live right after this game and every game right here on SNY. Taylor Buchholz, who was the winning pitcher with 2 perfect innings in Philadelphia Sunday night, on to pitch the 10th inning tonight.
You know, I've been really impressed ever since spring training with his curveball. But, you know, very rarely do you see a guy use a breaking pitch, not only with the ability to throw for a strike when he needs to, but also to put hitters away.
So we play the 10th. That's with their 14-inning win on Sunday night. Are now 2-1 in extra innings. The Giants are 2-2. Aubrey Huff leads off the 10th. He's gone 0 for 4. Well, both teams loaded the bases in the 9th. but both came up empty. K-Rod working himself out of a jam in the top of the inning, and Javier Lopez doing the same in the bottom of the ninth. And now Buchholz, the 5th Met pitcher of the night. And Huff takes it low for ball 1. It'll be Huff, then Shearholtz, and then the pitcher is hitting in the 7th spot in the batting order. The Giants still have 2 reserves on their bench. Freddie Sanchez and Eli Whiteside, their backup catcher. Mets have 1 player left on their bench, Chin-Lung Hu. Of course, you never know about those things, because Sunday night in Philly, we thought that the Phillies had 1 more player left on their bench, but it turned out Ross Gload was not there because his grandfather had passed away and he'd been excused. That's why Cole Hamels wound up pinch hitting in the 14th inning. The other thing we don't know is why Aaron Rowan came out of the game tonight. Ripped in the air to deep right. Beltran goes back, takes a look, and it's out of here. Off the Pepsi porch. Aubrey Huff with a home run, his 3rd of the year, and the Giants go in front 7-6 in the 10th inning.
Well, no doubt. Bomb. 2-0 fastball.
Buchholz could never get to his curveball because he missed with the first 2 fastballs in this count.
Aubrey Huff had been 0 for his last 20 before that home run. That puts the Giants in front.
Oh boy, right down the middle. Bell tie. He knew it.
Well, he missed the 3-0 pitch in his previous at bat. 2-0 suits him much better.
3rd home run Buchholz has allowed this year. Now Nate Shearholtz bats. And so Brian Wilson will get up in the Giants bullpen with a save opportunity in the offing. Shearholtz hit a go-ahead home run in the 6th inning.
Oh, I love this angle. Everything into it. A nice follow through on that swing. That was a line drive swing. And look what he did. He just hit a rocket.
Shearholtz hooks one down the right field side foul, and it's 0-2.
Giants, who have been struggling, and the wins have not been coming easy.
Well, it's the 3rd time tonight that the Giants have taken the lead. They went ahead 4-3 in the 3rd. The Mets came back. They went ahead 6-5 in the 6th. Mets came back, and now they've gone up 7-6 in the 10th. Good breaking ball by Buchholz to strike out Shearholtz for the first out of the inning. Now Freddie Sanchez will bat for the pitcher, Javier Lopez, who's now pitcher of record on the long side.
Let's see the IOTV pitch differential. 2-0. You want to throw that ball down and low on the corner, but you also have to throw a strike. Pitch up, cross Taylor.
Sanchez, the regular second baseman for the Giants. He's been struggling like everybody else in that lineup, so was getting the night off. So Sanchez, a former batting champion, takes ball 1 away. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 10th, the Mets are going to have 8, 9, and 1 in the order. Pridey, then the pitcher's spot. That'll have to be Chin-Lung Hu, and then Reyes against Brian Wilson. And Sanchez fouls it back 1-1.
He was the batting champion, Sanchez, in that wonderful year for the Mets in 2006. Hit .344 that year. Mr. Hernandez
playing for the Pirates.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
Well, I'm just saying, you guys are.
44 is a number you've heard of.
You guys are in the same group, fraternity.
1-2 to Sanchez. Well, do the Mets have another comeback in them tonight? Reyes will get a turn at bat. He's been on base 5 times in a row tonight. So Buchholz would be well served to keep this a 1-run game. Breaking ball in the dirt, 2-2. R.A. Dickey went the first 6, allowed 6 runs, 7 hits. Dylan G an inning and 2/3, no runs, 1 hit. Jason Isringhausen retired, the only man to face him. And K-Rod worked into and out of trouble But Buchholz has given up a leadoff home run to Aubrey Huff in the 10th to put the Giants in front again. 2-2 to Sanchez, and he pokes one foul. Sanchez has always been a pretty good breaking ball hitter.
Yeah.
I don't think you can win a batting championship unless you are, can you?
Look, well, out of that, the Pirates had so many batting champs. Well, as a matter of fact, they've had the most batting champs of any team in Major League Baseball. They're kind of out of the mold of Dick Groat, Matty Alou, not a lot of power.
Bill Madlock?
Well, Madlock had some pop.
But he didn't hit a lot of home runs.
But he had pop. Totally different hitter, Madlock. Madlock could hit.
3-2 now.
I think if you're a guy that walks 110, 115 times maybe a season, you know, you don't have to be such a bad ball hitter to hit 344. He's a free swinger, always has been.
And Madlock won a batting title, second batting title for the Giants.
3-2 to Sanchez, and the breaking ball fouled off.
I couldn't get Madlock out. I don't care what the average was. If it's low, it's because he had BBs at everyone. And this was late in his career.
They had so many great hitters who nobody even thinks of with the Pirates. How about Al Oliver?
Al Oliver.
They had hitters. You kidding?
You ask Al, you like to hit? I can hit.
He hit everywhere. Hit for the Expos, hit for the Rangers.
Yes, he did. He's actually, what did he get? 2,900 hits?
Almost, yeah. Again, the 3-2. And Sanchez fouls back another curveball. So Buchholz will have to gear it up again. It's the first time the Mets have played back-to-back extra inning games since June of 2009 against the Phillies. On that occasion, they lost them both. They won Sunday night. Now they'll have to come from behind tonight. This will be the 9th pitch from Buchholz to Freddie Sanchez. And he struck him out with a fastball. So back-to-back strikeouts for Buchholz after the leadoff home run. Time to check in with the studio. Chris Carlin with a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. It had been a dreadful year up until this point for the Twins. 6 straight losses, 9-18 coming into the night. That'll turn things around. Ground ball down to first. Ike Davis handles Emmanuel Burris's grounder. That ends the inning. Brian Wilson will come on to try and save it in the bottom of the 10th after Aubrey Huff's home run puts the Giants in front for the 3rd time tonight. 7-6 San Francisco as the Mets try and battle back in the bottom of the 10th. the bearded wonder Brian Wilson on to try and bid for his 9th save of the year.
You look at his stats this year, though. The one number rings out, Keith. Those walks, 9 of them.
Jason Pridey, first man up in the bottom of the 10th for New York, and he takes high and inside for ball 1. Pridey, a double and a sacrifice tonight, 1 for 3. Chin Lung Hu out on deck to pinch hit, and then Jose Reyes in the bottom of the 10th with the Mets down 7-6 after Aubrey Huff's home run. And a strike to Pridey, 1-1.
That's a new pitch for Wilson. They got a little tail for a left-hand hitter. He's usually straight over the top, Ron. And Righetti's got him working on a pitch that runs away from lefties and into righties, obviously.
With that look, Wilson looks like he can strike you out, push you down, and take your lunch money. I mean, he just.
I'd like to know how all that hair fits under that hat.
All he's missing is the Harley.
Looks like a skull cap. Whatever happened to the skull caps?
1-2. And Pridey takes just below the knees, 2-2.
Backdoor slider, nasty.
Let me tell you, if you're a hitter, that'll buckle your world and it'll get your attention. That just missed.
At the plate, but a little low. Wilson with more saves than anybody in the game the last 4 years. 2-2. Just missed away, and a full count to Pridey. Well, the Mets have had some great at-bats tonight. Their 9th full count. Mets would love to get Pridey on, so who can bunt?
Pridey's had the home run stroke working. He'll get a 3-2 fastball, you would think.
And he bounces one foul. 95 from Wilson. Dickey started tonight, still in the dugout watching his teammates try and come back in the 10th. And Pridey giving a good accounting of himself in this at bat.
Giving a good accounting of himself since he's been brought up, hasn't he?
Yep. Year-old Brian Wilson led the league with 48 saves last year, and then a tremendous postseason that followed. Ties up Pridey, and he went around strike 3. Tim Timmons didn't even bother asking for help.
Yeah, I gotta think he did.
Yep.
After all those fastballs, comes back with the slider, and
one big out for Wilson to start the bottom of the 10th, and now Chin Lung Hu looking for his 2nd hit of the season. 1 for 13 in his career as a Met. And he takes a fastball strike. Even though they played in the same division when Hu was with the Dodgers, he's never faced Brian Wilson. Reyes to follow. Off the plate, 1-1. Who swings through the fastball at 96, and it's 1-2. Piece of that to stay in. Here's your Home Depot doing more on defense. Javier Lopez starting the inning-ending double play that got him out of what looked like it might be game-ending trouble in the 9th. Giants took the lead in the top of the 10th, and now Wilson 2 outs away from closing it. 2-2 now to Hu. So another Met hitter working his way back into the count.
Well, you'd think Hu would have had some at-bats against Wilson because he was with the Dodgers, but nothing.
2-2 to who? Out to right center, and Ford is there. And played perfectly for the second out. And so the Mets are down to their final out here in the bottom of the 10th. Jose Reyes coming to the plate. Reyes has been on base 5 straight times. Has tied his career high with 3 walks tonight. A single, a double, and RBI. He had just 8 walks all season before tonight. Reyes has had just 1 career at bat against Wilson. 2 out and nobody on, and Jose takes off the plate for ball 1. If Reyes can keep it going, Daniel Murphy would be next. Line the other way, a base hit for Reyes. And Reyes has his 3rd hit to go with 3 walks on base 6 straight times. And the Mets have life in the 10th.
That is good hitting right there. Jose, not a power hitter, just get on base, keep it going.
What about stealing against Wilson here?
Gets a jump to go for it.
Absolutely.
Murphy 0 for 4 and a walk tonight. Not running. And Murphy takes low for ball 1.
Well, you got the combination. Wilson is not particularly slow to the plate. He's got a good quick move to the plate. Posey's got that great arm. You got to take a chance against these kind of pitchers.
Reyes down in his running stance. Not going. And it's 2-0 to Murphy. So Wilson opening the door here. David Wright waiting on deck.
I would let Murphy hit 2-0 if I was.
Yes.
But if I was Reyes, I'm saying stay on 2-0, stay on first base. But 2-1, you got to go.
And Murphy takes a strike, 2-1. So here we are.
I think you have to go now. 2-1 hitting count. Murphy's probably going to get a fastball. If he gets a breaking ball, that's to Jose's advantage.
You got Tejada off the line at 3rd base. A ball down the line scores Reyes on a double. I don't understand it. You give up a base hit to your left because Reyes can't advance to 3rd.
And you got Burrow in left field who doesn't move very well as well.
You can see right there. If Murphy goes the other way, hits one down the line, Reyes scores. There's just no doubles in this situation.
Wilson just threw over to first for the first time in this sequence. Bigger lead for Reyes now. Not going. And Murphy takes a strike. And now the Mets are down to their final strike. So Reyes has stayed put.
2 pitches right where Murph likes him, down and away.
Now it's 2-2.
Do that backdoor slider, Keith.
And Murphy goes down swinging, and the ball game is over. Brian Wilson saves it. Aubrey Huff's home run in the 10th inning, the difference in a back-and-forth game. And the Giants take the opening game of the series in 10 innings, 7-6.
Well, when you look at this game for the San Francisco Giants, Bochy's use of the left-handed relievers and the intentional base on balls really worked for the Giants. And the Mets, of course, Tolley with that big at-bat 1-2-3 double play with the bases loaded. And the Mets now 2-7 in 1-run games.
Well, they left 11 men on base, Ron, and that's always hurts. And of course, they had their opportunities. Both teams had their opportunities late. The Giants come out on top, came in here struggling, losing 8 out of their last 11. They take the opener.
So the Mets played back-to-back extra inning games until their Buchholz, who was the winner on Sunday night, takes the loss tonight on the Aubrey Huff home run in the 10th.